The night is as dark as ink, and the veil covers this sleepless city. Zimo rubbed his sour eyes and walked out of the company building. It was already a little early in the morning. As an ordinary programmer, his life is like this neon flashing street, repeated in single. I worked overtime until I vomited blood, and fell asleep when I got home. When I thought about the rent for the next month, it made him feel ache. Who could have thought that this ordinary night would become a turning point for his fate? He accelerated his pace and walked towards the underground station. The street lights stretched a shadow, and the air was filled with the smell of skewers and the low birds flowing far away. Suddenly, a harsh car sound broke through the night sky, like the roar of a wild beast. Zimo turned his head instinctively and saw only the intersection ahead. A black SUV suddenly hit the guardrail on the roadside, and the head of the car twisted and white smoke appeared. The car door opened, and two figures stumbled out. One of the men covered their shoulders, bloodied, and the other woman screamed and called, "Hey, help! This is the intersection of Donghua Road. I went out for a bus and someone was injured." The woman's voice was trembling, full of panic. Zimo's heartbeat accelerated, and he hesitated for 2 seconds, but he still rushed over. As a passionate guy, he didn't want to stand by and watch. "Miss, are you okay? Do you need me to help?" He squatted down and tried to help the man up. The man raised his head, and there was a strange blue light in his eyes, as if he was wearing a hidden lens. "Roll out. Don't worry about things." His words were rough, with an unnatural urgency. Zimo was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to say something, the man suddenly took out a silver-colored hand from him and threw it at him. The hand ring drew an arc in the air and was accurately placed on Zimo's right wrist. The cold metal touch penetrated into the skin like electric current. Zimo was shocked and wanted to take it off, but he found that it was absorbing tightly, as if it had merged into his flesh and blood. "What kind of ghost thing is this?" Zimo murmured, and his heart was filled with hair. Just then, another figure crawled out of the back seat of the SUV, holding a flashing device in his hand, like a gun in a science fiction movie. "Boy, you shouldn't see it." The man sneered and shot at Zimo. Zimo's brain buzzed, and he was afraid that the tide would flow like a tide. He instinctively stepped back and staggered. The gun lit up blue light, and an electric arc shot out, heading straight to his chest. Time seemed to slow down. Zimo felt the burning of his right wrist, and the hand suddenly felt burning, as if it was alive. He subconsciously stretched out his hand and flashed a blank thought in his brain: hold it. The miracle happened. An invisible wave exploded from the hand ring, and there seemed to be a tangible ripples in the air. The arc twisted in midair, as if it was being sucked by a magnet, hitting the road light next to it. The light column burst into sparks, buzzing. The man holding the gun widened his eyes, and suddenly his gun was smoked, and the internal circuit was shorted, making a harsh burst sound. "Don't die! Why is my electromagnetic gun damaged?" He cursed and pulled the fender, only causing harmless sparks to burst out. Zimo stood there blankly, his brain was blank. Is I fucked? His heart was pounding, and there was an inexplicable sense of excitement in his heart. Those little guys, because they looked like street gangsters, using high-tech stuff, caught off guard and were stunned on their faces. One of them came up and wanted to solve it with his fist. Zimo retreated in panic and accidentally touched another thing that the man had dropped in his left hand, a pair of red gloves, which were put on his hand at some point. "Boy, you're looking for death." The man came. Zimo could clench his fists, and the flame-like heat waves poured out from his gloves. His palm ignited in an instant, and the high-temperature flames rushed towards the other side like a wild horse. The man screamed, his clothes were burning, and he stepped back. "Hot! What a ghost thing this is!" Zimo's eyes were glaring. "Flame? From my hands? This is impossible." But he couldn't think too much about it. He was sent away from home in another escape car. The SUV's coworker was falling off and trying to escape. The trunk was still bleeding, with suspicious instrument lights flashing inside. Zimo's brain flashed and thought, "I can't let them run away." He rushed forward, his left hand suddenly slapped, and the flames twitched towards the tail of the car like a whip. Rush! The car instantly ignited a raging fire, the tire burst, the car lost control and hit the trash can on the road, turning into a group of fireballs. The visual impact is like a movie special effect. The flames reflect half of the street, and the heat waves come over. Zimo feels that his blood is boiling. Successfully. He gasped, his heart transforming from pure fear into a wonderful excitement. So, I'm not a waste? I have this power. This feeling is like the fantasy of watching superhero comics when I was a child, and it really happened to me. When the little one sees the state, their faces are pale. One of them shouted, "The organization will not let you go. The memory eraser will make you forget everything." They escaped and disappeared into the night. Zimo sat on the road, staring at the ring and gloves on his hands. They are now warm as usual, as if in the lowly words, "Welcome to join this game." At this moment, a delicate figure walked out of the shadow. The woman is wearing a black sweater, her long hair is light in the wind, and her eyes are as sharp as a keel. "You're okay?" "That's just that fire, it's pretty cool." Her voice was crisp and she was filled with fun. Zimo raised his head and stepped back with a warning. "Who are you? Come and kill me?" The woman smiled, squatted down, and passed a business card. "Naren, private detective. Don't worry, I'm not an enemy. That's the car, not an accident. Those guys are minions of the Shadow Network organization. They deal with the targets, use their memory to remove devices to wash the people, and keep their secrets. It seems that you accidentally rolled in. Xinhuang? Delete the memory?" Zimo's brain buzzed and took the business card, his fingers trembled slightly. There's only one phone number on the business card and the words Naren Investigation Institute, which is simple like a casual sign. "How do you know?" "It sounds like science fiction." Nalen looked over his shoulders, his eyes swept over his rings and gloves. "Because I've seen so many similar cases. Those objects, electromagnet rings and flame gloves, are rare anomalies that can awaken the holder's potential. You just showed that you've woken up. But the TV network is eyeing you, and they won't be able to rest easily. Especially if you destroy their proof car. The fire is burning cleanly, haha." Zimo heard her words, and her heart was filled with scent. From an overtime dog to a sudden power to controlling electromagnetics and flames, the transition was too fast, making him breathless. But Nalen's straightforwardness made him feel less alone. "Then what should I do? What eraser do they say? I don't want to forget all of this." Nalen stood up, patted his shoulder, and acted very seriously. "Follow me first, I have a safe point. From tonight, you are no longer an ordinary person. Learn to control these powers, and we will uncover the treacherous sacredness of the movie network. They control the dark side of the city, erase unspeakable memories, and maintain that false peace. But you have the chance to change it all." Zimo clicked his head and stood up. The hand ring was slightly hot, as if responding to his determination. "I'm afraid it's still there, but the excitement is even stronger." He followed Nalen into the night, and the buzzing of flames and the arcs of electric buzzing in his brain. The shadow of the Shadow Network was already covered, but for the first time, he felt that he was no longer a victim, but the fire that broke through the darkness. The sirens on the street corner were closer and took a step further. Zimo looked back and saw that the damaged car was still intoxicated, like a prediction about the future. The spot of Nalen is hidden in an inconspicuous alley in the old city. There is an old tea house next to it. The door is covered with dust and the air is filled with the musty smell of Chenyenpur and the oily fragrance of the street. Zimo followed her into the backyard and opened an iron door. There was a simple basement with yellow maps and newspaper clippings on the wall, and the lights were dimly lit, like the set of an old detective film. Zimo leaned against the wall, panting, and his hands and gloves were still slightly swelling, making him feel as if he was wearing two restless pets. "Sit down, don't look like you've seen a ghost." Nalen shook off her clothes and exposed her tight black clothes. She grabbed 2 bottles of mineral water from the refrigerator and threw it to Zimo. The bottle was covered in ice, and the touch made him feel a little awake. Drink a little water first and then tell me your situation. Those little guys didn't catch up, right? Zimo opened the bottle and took a few big gulps. The water dripped down her chin, mixed with sweat. I don't know where to start. That's all just now, it's so crazy. Why did I suddenly play with electromagnetics and fire when I wrote a code? In the movie network you said, what are they fucking? Why are they eyeing me? Nayland leaned against the table, clicked a cigarette, and the smoke scattered under the light, like a hazy smoke. She spitted in a circle, her eyes sharp. The Shadow Network is not a black help, it is a group hidden in the bones of the city. They use high technology to maintain order. The so-called order is to erase any memory that threatens their power. Those cars? It's not accidents, but they are delivering memory removal devices. That thing is like a small brainwave interferer that can make people forget about specific events and even reshape their memories. Think about it, people in the city are washed away, who will still doubt their deception? Zimo's brain buzzed and the bottle almost fell to the ground. He thought of his parents, girlfriend Xiaowei, and colleagues who chatted with him while working overtime. Wait, what about my family? Have they been? Maybe. Nayland's words were plain, like a knife sucking the heart. The touching hands of the Shadow Network are everywhere, especially those like you. They will try first and then start. Fortunately, you wake up those objects, electromagnetic rings and flame gloves, not things that are casual. They are ancient alien objects, which are said to be from a lost civilization and can amplify people's potential. But no one teaches you how to use it, you will be devoured long ago. Zimo stared at the hand ring with his head down, and the metal surface was hiding blue light, as if mocking his ignorance. My heart was filled with treacherous. Xiaowei sent a message last night complaining about the heavy work pressure. If my memory was erased, our appointments and those little quarrels would be gone? No, I have to figure it out, I can't let them move my friends. This anger made him clench his fists and his gloves slightly warmed. How to learn it? Are there any tutorials? He asked, with an anxious voice. Nayland smiled and was about to open her mouth when the door in the basement was suddenly knocked, 3 short and 2 long, like a dark number. She pulled out her gun in a warning and signaled Zimo to hide in the corner. Wait, maybe an acquaintance. The door opened, a woman walked in. She was like a middle-aged man, with short hair and neat clothes, wearing loose sportswear. Her eyes were as deep as a well, and a faint lavender fragrance spread on her body. Nayland relaxed her voice. An Huiqian, why are you here? Aren't you saying that you're underestimating? Huiqian glanced at Zimo, her eyes like an X-ray scan. Lo? Nayland, you brought the newcomer back. The silence is so big that the monitoring network of the film network is shocked. I was patrolling nearby and heard that there's an unusual wave on Donghua Road, so I came over and take a look. She approached Zimo, stretched out her palm, and touched his hand lightly. The touch feels warm, like a mother's hand. Boy, I recognize you. The electromagnetic control and flames are ignited, and the combination is good, but you are like an unbladed knife now, and you will only hurt yourself. Zimo was stunned and felt his hand calm down under her touch. Who are you? How do you know these? Huiqian, an expert inexperienced. I used similar things that year to help Nayland kill him by killing him on the TV network. Huiqian sat down in a chair, her temperament was like a teacher talking. These things are not toys, they connect your neural system. The electromagnetic ring can manipulate the magnetic field, interfere with the electrons, control metals. Flame gloves are heat catalyzed, igniting combustibles in the air. But the foundation is mind control. Imagine it like your extended limbs. Come on, try. She took Zimo to the open space in the basement, where the old carpet was lurking and waste iron fragments were piled up in the corners of the wall. Huiqian pointed at a piece of iron. Concentrate, imagine that the magnetic field is like an invisible net, wrapping it. Don't hurry, come slowly. Zimo took a deep breath and closed her eyes. It was a mess in the brain. The firelight flashed through the car and the business card of Nayland. But he tried to relax and his hands were getting hot. He felt a numbness swelling from his arms, like electricity traveling through his blood vessels. The iron swayed slightly, then floated up slowly and swayed in the air. "It's done!" Zimo's eyes were shaking, and his voice was trembling with excitement. Hui Qian clicked her head and the corners of her mouth were slightly slight. "It's just a foundation. Now Flame, clench your fist, imagine that the heat explodes from the palm, but control the scope and don't burn the room." Zimo tried, and a small flame appeared in his palm. The blue flame licked the air, and the hot waves scattered the surface, but it didn't get out of control. He felt the power flowing in his body, from clumsy panic to current control, which made his spine straight. "So could I do it?" Nalan looked aside and interjected, "It's not bad, but don't be too early. The pursuers of the Shadow Network may have locked you up. Their memory removal device is hidden in the downtown warehouse, and I have a thread. Let's go and explore tomorrow." As I was speaking, the sound of footsteps coming from the basement was heavy and rapid. Hui Qian's ears moved and her face changed. "Come here, 3. Nalan, seal the door." She pushed the zine into the wall and put it in front. The door was knocked open, and 3 men in black were inserted, holding a stick and a memory to remove the gun, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. One of the leaders growled, "Boy, hand over the ring. The organization gives you the last chance to erase the memory, and nothing happens." Zimo's heartbeat was like a drum, and sweat slid down his back. The alley outside was pitch black, and it started to rain. The rain hit the top of the iron leather house, making a fuss, like a war drum. Hui Qian sneered, "Want to erase it? Just close it first." She sniffed her hand, and an invisible force field pressed on the door. The blue light of the electric rod hit and buzzed and shorted. The battle explodes. The leader man rushed towards Hui Qian. She avoided her side and kicked him over. Zimo felt like he was flashing in his brain, and he took a deep breath and stared at the iron fragments on the ground. As soon as the thought moves, the magnetic field opens like a net, and the waste irons, keels, screws, and tubes buzz and float, like a flock of angry bees. "Go!" he shouted. Fragments shot out like a child, accurately hitting the weapons of the 2 men. The rod twists and breaks, and the memory flashes the red light from the memory to remove the gun for 2 times, and the internal circuit is burned and a burnt smell comes out. "Fuck well, boy!" Hui Qian shouted. She was fighting with the leader, fisting to the flesh, and was in a narrow space. But the 3rd man came over and straightened his head, and the gun in his hand was aimed at him. "You're finished." Zimo could retreat, his feet fell to the carpet. In panic, he clenched his fists and his flame gloves exploded. The hot waves were like a tide, and the tongue of flames appeared in the palm, igniting the man's sleeves. The man screamed, and the flames blew on his arms, burnt cloth, and steamed in the air mixed with the rain. He slammed the fire and his face twisted into a group. The leader saw the situation and smashed the cracked iron tube. Zimo rolled his body and flashed the spirit in his brain, monitoring. Outside the alley there is a head of a statue under the street lights, with red spots flashing. He focused his energy and magnetic waves were like invisible hands, interfering with the signal. The sound of a buzzing sound, the snowflakes on the screen, and the tracking system of the organization instantly stormed. "Niran, it's safe outside," he shouted, with a little more confidence in his voice. Hui Qian knocked her head down with a heavy punch, and the man fell to the ground, panting, "You can't escape. Your brain will come by itself." The 3 were subdued and hung on a chair. The rain was getting heavy, the water was gurgling outside the window, and the neon lights in the alleys reflected on the water, breaking into colorful lights. Zimo wiped off the sweat from the head and felt the arm sore, but the warmth gushed in his heart. From the panic just now to the precise control now, this growth is like a flame that lights up the darkness. He looked at Hui Qian and Nalan and asked, "What's next?" "I've gotten rid of those devices. I can't let Xiaowei and the others be washed." Hui Qian patted his shoulder with a complimentary look. "Good boy, I have a sense of enlightenment. Let's take a break, we will go to the warehouse tomorrow. But remember, strength is not for pleasure, but for protection. The network of Shadow Network is getting tighter and tighter, and we will get faster. Nalan clicked the head, passed a cup of hot tea, steamed food. The cable shows that the warehouse has a security system and your electromagnetics are just in place. But think about your friends first to confirm that they are safe. This is your motor. Zimo points the head and holds the hand ring tightly. In the sound of the rain, he felt that the power was rooted in his body, and he might retreat, and replaced it with determination. The rest of the lane war is still there, and iron debris are scattered all over the ground, like trophies, indicating that a greater storm is coming. After a rainy night, when the city woke up, the air still had a damp smell of earth and the slime hitting at the remote construction site. Zimo stood at Nalan's door, rubbing the sore shoulders left by fighting last night. Her hand ring and gloves were intimately hot, like two restless partners reminding him, the game has just begun. Before leaving last night, An Huiqian stuffed him a small headphone, saying it was a telecommunication device. Boy, remember, the energy is not a waste, but precise. When it is hot, it is cold, and when it is disturbed, it takes a deep breath. Her voice was still rumbling in her brain, which made Zimo feel a little more warm. Nalan walked out of the house, carrying a black mountaineering bag, and was full of tools. She shook her hair and smiled. Are you ready? The outer points of the movie network in the old warehouse in the city center. The cable shows that their memory erases the prototypes there, and the transport records can prove that they are manipulating the selection, the brains of those politicians, who have long been washed into puppets of hearing. Zimo swallowed, and felt a little nervous. Choose? Manipulate the people? This is not just science fiction, it is real Shadow. He remembered Xiaowei's message last night, the company's layoffs, and she was worried about losing her job. He replied, don't be afraid, I'm here, but now, he has to prove that he is not empty talk. Let's go, I can't let them continue to harm people. Especially those innocent, ordinary people like my dad. They opened Nalan's second-hand motorcycle and shuttled through the morning peak stream. The engine buzzed and growled, the wind squirted over the aroma and tail of the coffee shop. Zimo grabbed Nalan's waist tightly, and the iron flew in the brain during training. The feeling, from last night's panic to current control, made his spine straight. But I am afraid that it is still there, like a small claw under the shadow, gnawing on his confidence. The old warehouse area is in the suburbs of the city, with lenses growing in the iron quarry, and the air is filled with iron storms and sea winds. The faraway containers are piled up like mountains, like a city cemetery. Nalan parked in the shadows and took out the far-sided mirror. 2 guards patrol the outside, electronic locks and monitoring flying all over the sky. Your electromagnetic ring is just in place. But don't be strong, the security of the Shadow Network has anti-enabled interferers, so you will be able to contact the alarm. Zimo clicks his head and wears the headphones. Hui Qian's voice immediately came, and Xiaowu was calm. Boy, listen. The electromagnetic wave should be like a water flow, slowly penetrate, and don't open it all at once. Imagine a magnetic field wrapping the target, and just blow it lightly. They crawled forward, stepping on the gravel, creaking. As soon as the guard turned around, Zimo's heartbeat broke. The guy was so arrogant, with a gun on his waist, his eyes swept over their direction. Nalan said in a low voice, stay calm and walk over. But sure too sold them. Shogun shouted, who is there? Stop. He pulled out his gun, and another Shogun also warned that a buzzing message was sent out from the wireless. Intruder? Check and monitor. Zimo's brain buzzed, and he was afraid of turbulence. It's over, it's exposed just as soon as he started. His hands were shaking slightly, and his hands were swelling, as if urging him. Nalan pulled him into the container and gasped, Zimo, now! Hunt their guns and locks. Believe in yourself, weren't you very fierce last night? Her words were like a thriller. Zimo took a deep breath and closed her eyes and focused. Hui Qian in the headphones directed, slowly, the magnetic field rises from the bottom of the foot and spreads to the surrounding electrons. Don't be impatient. He felt his arms numb, and the invisible waves were like ripples. The Guardian gun first reacted, and a buzzing sound was buzzing, and the internal circuit was shorted, causing a burnt smell. The guy was stunned and pulled the puller, only harmless sparks were sprayed. Fuck! Is my gun damaged? He cursed, his face blue. Another guardian pulled to the warehouse door and wanted to swipe the card to open the locker. But Zimo's magnetic field had entered, and the electronic panel flashed red light, emitted a harsh behead, and then a click sound was clicked and it was permanently killed. The doors are unmoved, like the powerlessness of mocking them. Is it broken? Impossible. Sho smashed the door, his fist hitting the metal, and he was shocked and turned. Nayland smiled softly. Is it good? This is the feeling of slapping the face. Let's go, and while I'm not doing it. She took out the smoke from her bag and threw it at Shogun. The white fog is scattered, and the chemical smell of the nose is swelling. Shua coughs and retreats, and his vision is blurred. Zimo followed and turned his heart, so I can do it. From last night's clumsiness to now precise storm, this power is no longer a burden, but a weapon. But he was afraid that he would still be there, and he gritted his teeth and thought, I can't stop, Xiaowei, the city, it's all up to me. They slipped into the warehouse, the lights inside were dim, the air was hot, and the smell of burnt oil and wires. The shelves were filled with boxes, and the labels read medical equipment, but Zimo saw the clues at a glance. Those were the parts of the memory deletion device, the flashing chips, like science fiction props. Nayland opened a box with a file folder with a yellow paper, and recorded target, select candidates in the East District, erase opposition memories, and implant loyalty modules. Did you see? Nayland lowered her voice, her eyes lit up. They not only erase targets, but also manipulate the overall situation. These documents show that the mayor's brain has long been washed and the policies are all served by the film network. People think it is calm, but they are actually a flock of brains. Zimo's heart sank and his anger arose. Imagine that his parents read the news and believed the false news, and he clenched his fists. These bastards are ruined and can't let them continue. But the sound of footsteps comes from deep, and the slightest movement of heavy boots stomping on the ground. 2 internal guards appear, handheld laser scanner, red light swipes over the shelf. Invasion police. Search. Nayland Lazimo hid in the shadows. Hui Qian in the earphones was quick, still stable. Are the flame gloves hot? Take a deep breath, control the heat range, and don't burn the entire warehouse. The guard approached, and one said, if you hear that there are new people, the brain ordered the arrest of the living. Those things must be recycled. Another laughed, recycle? Just erase the memory and let him be our dog. Zimo's blood rushed upwards. Dog? What do they treat me like? Fighting with anger, he felt the gloves burning and the flames were restless in his palms. But after Nayland's words in his brain, Hui Qian's guidance, you can't come around, you need to be accurate. Nayland's verb, Zimo, the documents are on the table next to your left hand. Light them up, but don't be surprised outside. Overcome it, I believe you. Her trust is like fire, and Zimo is dotted. As the guard approached, he stretched out his hand from the shelf, focusing his mind. The magnetic field first developed people and interfered with their scanner. The red light twisted, the instrument buzzed and reported, and Sho was stunned. Is it bad again? A ghost here? Taking advantage of the opportunity, Zimo clenched his fist with his right hand and the flame gloves exploded. The little flame burst out like a spirit, quietly licking the document table without sound. The edges of the paper were charred black first, then crackled, and the flames red at his face. The heat is hot, and it has not been dissipated. The documents turn into dust, and the evidence is clean and neat. Shua turned around and heard the smell of paper and shouted, fire! Someone is making fire. Zimo's heart was pounding, and as the flames closed, he felt the heat in his body calm down. From the terrifying tremor to the current control, this turn made him feel shocked. I am not a victim, I am a guardian. The guard came and punched Zimo. Zimo flickered his body, and slammed his left-hand magnetic field. The metal waist strap on his waist twisted, tightening his waist, making him panting. What kind of demon is you, this? Shoa's face swelled, and the other pulled out his knife. Nayland pulled out from the side, and a memory of the leg fell on him. Demon? This is called righteousness. Nayland gasped and held them. The document is broken, but we got the blue picture of the prototype. Look, here is the core base underground in the city center. They grabbed a few pages and a small device and prepared to withdraw. Hui Qian praised the headphones. It's very hard, boy. The power is stable, and the magnetic field and the flame begin to merge. Next time I try a combined attack. But right at the door, Zimo felt a strange visual line. There was a figure in the vent at the height of the warehouse. A man wearing a woven uniform, didn't take action, but just watched quietly. His eyes flashed in the dark, like a piercing in his heart. Zimo's heart sank. Is it an inner ghost? The man turned and disappeared, leaving behind a doubtful shadow. Nayland pushed open the door, and the outside was still coughing in the fog. Go away. Their reinforcements are coming. They drove out of the warehouse, and the motorcycle engine was swept by the wind. Zimo turned around, and the firelight appeared from the door, reflecting the red night sky. Preliminary revelation: Film Network not only erases individuals, but also controls the struggles of the entire city. But the figure in the dark made him feel uneasy. There seemed to be cracks inside the organization. Nayland accelerated and shouted, "Boy, you've just gotten angry. Overcome your fear and be like a Real Guard." Zimo smiled and held his hands tightly. The determination is as firm as a flame. This is the beginning, and I will burn their darkness. Motorcycles snatched over neon lights, and city lights stretched in the rearview mirror, like an inexhaustible battle. Far away, the sirens were about to rise, and the pursuer's pace was approaching. The motorcycle's engine sounded in the night wind, and Zimo grabbed Nayland's waist tightly, feeling her heart beating wildly. The firelight in the warehouse became blurred in the rear lens, but the sharp sirens were already like a shadow, breaking the hustle and bustle of the city. The streets were slippery after the rain, and neon lights reflected on the water, breaking into colorful ripples. Nayland slammed the direction and turned into a small alley. The harsh sound of the wheels rubbing against the ground made Zimo's teeth fatal. Catch the strong. Their pursuers are coming, three-wheeled SUV, encircling from the east. Zimo glanced back and saw three car lights far away like wolves' eyes approaching quickly. The red-blue lights on the top of the car are not policemen, but the decorative team of the movie network. His brain flashed through the dust of the documents in the warehouse, and the sense of accomplishment had not subsided, and he was afraid of being diminished. Why are they so fast? We have to throw them off. Nayland gritted her teeth and accelerated to exit the alley. The motorcycle rushed into the main road like an arrow. The car was dense, the sound of horns was everywhere, and the drivers cursed and shook their way. I can't get rid of these guys have trackers. I saw on the blue picture that they implanted GPS chips into those parts. We destroyed the files, but they locked us. Hui Qian, answer, she shouted, pressing the earphone. Hui Qian's voice immediately rose, and there was a hurried voice in the sand. I heard it. You come to the western suburbs factory area, where my training ground is empty and can be opened. Zimo, prepare your extraordinary energy, this time it's not a small blow. Zimo's heart sank. Training? Now? But the heat of the hand ring and gloves made him unable to retract. He took a deep breath of air that smelled gasoline and tried to concentrate. From the precision of the warehouse to the present, he felt the power was ready to move in his body, like awakened wilderness waiting to be released. They walked through several moves and finally left the factory area. There are many abandoned factories. The iron doors are covered with the musty smell of iron and Chinyan paint. Nayland stopped in front of a hidden car. Hui Qian was waiting there. She opened the electric iron door, and the motorcycle slid in, and the door was closed behind her. Outside, the SUV's car sounded sharply. 3 cars surrounded the entrance. The door was opened. 7 or 8 men in black got off the car, holding weapons, and the head was a middle-aged man with a straightened face. His eyes were like a knife, and there was a flashing green device between his waist. The middle-level trunk, the magician of the Shadow Network. Come out. Hand over the blue pictures and objects, otherwise you will erase all your memories, the middle-aged man shouted through the loudspeaker, his voice as cold and hard as metal. The subordinates scattered, set up a laser network, and red lights connected to form a network, and closed the exit. Huixera opened the door in the car warehouse, with a wide underground training ground, with cement slits and dusty targets hanging on the wall. The light lit up, and the dazzling white light made Zimo squint his eyes. There's no time to go away, boy. This is your upgrade class. The middle level of the movie network is here, called Vic, who specializes in the alien fusion of your electromagnetic and flames, otherwise we will all be. Nalan gasped, took out the blue picture page from her bag and sent it to Huiqian. Look, there is a base coordinate prompt here, underground of the old underground station in the city center. But you have to level the outside first. Zimo's brain was buzzing. Fusion? It sounds like the ultimate skill in the game, but now he just wants to protect himself. The men in black smashed the door, and the iron door was filled with shock, and the dust fell down. I'll try. But what if I lose control? Huiqian grabbed his arm, her eyes fixed like a torch. Out of control? Then start from small. Electromagnetics are your skeleton, and flames are flesh and blood. Imagine a magnetic field wrapping heat, allowing the flame to guide along the magnetic line, spinning like a storm. Come, practice. She threw a waste tube in an old light bubble. First point the gas in the bubble and use a magnetic field to control the direction of the flame. Zimo took a deep breath and squinted his palm against the lights. The flame gloves heated up, and the small flames burst out, licking the glass. The gas in the bubble crackled and the orange light flashed. He focused his mind, his hands were buzzing, and the invisible magnetic field was like a wire-scattered flame. The flame tongue bent, stretched along the magnetic line into a whip, and pulled towards the iron tube. The iron tube is red and hot, curved and deformed, making a sizzling sound. It's done, it heard me. Zimo's eyes lit up, and he was anxious and frightened. This feeling, from a pure fire to a guide, is like riding a single car to a pilot, and an unprecedented sense of control arises in my heart. Huiqian clicked her head and the corners of her mouth were slightly slight. No, enlarge it now. The cars outside have metal bodies and electronic trackers. Use your wind to storm them. She pressed the switch, and a zipper was half open in the car door, revealing the enemy on the outside. Vic's voice again said, "Last warning. We know you have an electromagnetic, boy. Hand over it and organize it to you, after erasing the memory, as our tool." Zimo's heart is tight. A tool? Like those politicians who have been washed. The rage made the flame gloves burn. He climbed onto the platform at the top of the car and looked through the gap. The three-wheeled SUV engine is full of birds, the lights are dazzling, and the man in black is scattered and surrounded. Nalan and Huichi were guarding the door and ready to meet. "Zimo, now!" Nalan shouted. He stepped out of the platform, and when he landed, he held his knees softly, but immediately stood firm. The ground was cold after the rain, so it was sticky when it stepped on. The man in black discovered him, and the laser network came, and the red light was like a snake's letter. "Catch the alive!" Vic ordered. Zimo took a deep breath and stretched out his hands. The electromagnetic field exploded first, like an invisible giant net cover around it. The SUV's car lights are flashing, the engine is shut off like a cough, and the metal fragments under the tires, the irons and wires on the road, are buzzing and floating, and the wheels are whirling like bees. "Come on!" He growled, and with a thought, the metal was like an arrow and the rain of arrows shot towards the man in black. Some people avoided it, some people were hit, their weapons were twisted and broken, and they screamed loudly. The magnetic field interferes with their communication headphones, and the buzzing noise makes them hug and bump. Vic sneered, pulling out the green light device from his waist, and a squirt wave emitted to counter the electromagnetic. Little hand. The wave hit Zimo's field, and Zimo felt his arms numb and the magnetic field was shaking. But he gritted his teeth and calmed down, and the flame gloves were connected. The heat waves rush into the magnetic field, and the flames burst out along the magnetic lines, fusing into a blue-white electromagnetic flame, a storm wrapped in thunder and electricity, spiraling and dissipating. "This is my storm." Zimo was shocked. This innovative breakthrough was like a flashing center spirit. From the panic of self-protection to the joy of creating new moves, he felt that he had changed. The windstorms swept into the SUV, the flames guided the magnetic field, the engine cover was ignited, and the metal on the car body was twisted and melted. The tracker chip cracked and burst, sparked 4 times, and the green light device shorted in Vic's hand. His face turned pale and he stepped back. Impossible. Is this a fusion power? The climax came quickly. Zimo controlled the storm and easily stormed the car team. The first SUV tire burst, rolling and hitting the wall. The second circuit was destroyed, turning into a fireball. The third door was locked, and the man in black was trapped inside, and the slightest slashing the glass mixed with the flames. The pleasure was like a tide, and Zimo laughed, "Your hands are the last one." But it suddenly turns. When an SUV rolled over, the car door opened and a young girl rolled out, a passerby who was being slapped with his feet. His mouth was covered with a rubber strap, and his eyes were terrified. She got up and wanted to run, but she fell down. Vic's men came and wanted to drag her back to be a human. "Don't urge her." Zimo's brain flashed over Xiaowei's face, and the innocent panic made him unable to hold back. He rushed forward, and the magnetic field was slammed, dragging the girl's hand to tighten the waist, and he let out a pain. Zimo picked up the girl, the flames stormed her body, and the blue fire scattered, and the heat waves forced her to retreat. "Hold on, I'll take you away." The girl's eyes swayed and pointed. Zimo felt warm in his heart. From being single and purely self-protection to saving people, this hero sprouted like a fire. He returned to the warehouse. Hui Qian picked up the girl, and Nalan covered her ejaculation. Vic saw that the victory was not good, so Emperor retreated, and his subordinates carried the injured man on the slaughter and fled. "Boy, you will regret it. My brain knows you." His figure disappeared into the night, leaving a mess. During the training ground, the girl was untied and said with trembling, Thank you, they arrested me because I saw their laboratory." Zimo patted her shoulder and realized in her heart, "It's okay, go and find the police. We will deal with them." Nalan looked at Zimo with soft eyes. She passed the bottle of water and said in a low voice, "You just, don't be stunned. Saving someone is not self-protection, but a true hero. I believe in you. From now on, we are partners." They returned to the basement and the girl is sent away by Hui Qian. Hui Qian checked Zimo's hand ring. The integration was successful, boy. The electromagnetic flamestorm is your mark. Next step, practice stability. But tonight, you grow. Nalan sat at the table, clicked a cigarette, and smoked. She stared at the blue pictures, her words softly, "I have stories when I say that. 2 years ago, I was an ordinary journalist, and I looked up the dark side of the TV network's choice. They caught me, washed my brain with a memory deleter, and implanted fake memories, making me think I was theirs. But I resisted, and woke up a little strange. I knew it. From then on, I chased them and hid. The guy Vic was the middle layer who chased me that year. If it weren't for your allies, I would have finished." Zimo heard it and felt sad. It turns out that she also has a scar on her back. This sharing is like a bridge beam, which brings the distance closer. I understand. For those who are manipulated, we have to go together. Just like saving that girl, you can't let innocent people suffer. Nalan smiled and knocked on the blueprint. "Yes. The seat tag is locked. The underground B4 level of the old underground station, that is the core base. Remember that the core is there, and if it is destroyed, they can break their roots. But Vic escaped and he will report to the brain. We are fast, there are variations inside." Hui Qian pointed out, "Let's rest. Tomorrow, we'll go deeper. But boy, remember, your storm is not for pleasure, but for protection. The road to heroes begins today." Zimo held the hand ring tightly and felt the strength was stable. Outside, The wind from the factory area blew across the ruins, bringing low birds with far-off waves. The shadow of the base approached, but his heart had changed from fear and sprouted into a guardian flame. It's late at night, it's the dawn of the new war. The morning light enters the broken windows of the factory area, and the dust floats in the sun, like countless small spirits. Zimo rubbed his eyes and got up from his simple sleeping bag. His hand ring and gloves were still warm. The storm of last night's electromagnetic flames made his arms slightly painful, but the feeling of power surrounds his heart like a warmth. At the underground training ground, Nalan was opening her blue pictures, her eyebrows were tightly locked, and Huichi was brewing coffee on the side. The rich fragrance mixed with the smell of iron was relieved of the fatigue of the night war. Awaken? Boy, have a good sleep last night. Nalan raised her head and passed a cup of hot coffee. The heat on the edge of the cup rose. There was a softness in her eyes that she didn't have last night. From the warehouse to the chase, she watched Zimo turn from a panicked novice into a rescue hero, and the transformation made the wall in her heart crack and the Taoist break. The blueprint analysis is completed. The old underground station is the core underground, but the edge of the experiment room is in the Nanjiao Industrial Park, where they test memory removal devices. The sample is there, and Steel One can reversely crack their technology. Zimo took the cup and poured the hot coffee down his throat, bringing sweetness in the bitterness, making his brain clear. Southern suburbs? I'm familiar with that place. The company used to have projects nearby. Is the Guardian too much? Last night, Vic escaped, and they will definitely send more people. Huiqian walked over with her cup, her short hair was dusty under the light. She patted Zimo's shoulders, and her movements were as clear as a long hair. It's definitely true, but your storm has been upgraded, and it merged smoothly last night. The energy is not rigid, and when used, it will evolve. The electromagnetic field can expand and the flame heat is adjustable. It's the key to the mind, from self-preservation to protection. You took that step last night and the potential exploded. Remember, upgrading depends on real war, not sitting and dazed. Zimo lights his head and warms his heart. Hui Qian's words were like a light tower, illuminating his confusion from an ordinary office worker to an alien. Thank you, Auntie. I won't disappoint you. We have to move on for Xiaowei, for that girl, for the people who have been washed in the city. Nalan smiled, put away the blue picture and carried the bag. Let's go, the information I dug out from the Black Network last night. The Laboratory Installation Medicine Company has a normal surface and a security network on the underground floor, laser siege, AI monitoring, and memory guns. But once you get electromagnetic, they're blind. Zimo, you're the main attack on the system, I'm covering it, Hui Qian cuts off. Tacitly, this is a team. They opened Hui Qian's old pickup truck and shuttled through the southern suburbs of transport. The air in the industrial park is deep, and the pungent smell of the chemical factory and the whistle of the remote train. After the car parked in a tree outside the park, Nalan took out the tablet and showed a satellite picture on the screen. The entrance is in the main building B1, guarding the wheels, patrolling every hour. It's an empty file now. Zimo, do you feel your hand ring? It's moving, and you're premonitioning danger. Zimo took a deep breath, and his hands vibrated slightly, synchronizing his pounding like a heartbeat. I feel it. Let's go. They flipped over the iron slug, stomping on the gravel road. The crunch was covered by the sound. The outer wall of the main building is full of vines, and the door is not flashed with green light. Nalan swiped a card to create the card, and the door clicked open. The lights were buzzing in the air, and the air was like the smell of disinfectant water from a hospital. The elevator reached the ground, Zimo's heart beat faster and his palm was slightly moist. The elevator door is open, and the corridor is facing it. The wall is covered with LED lights, the laser sieve is visible, and the red lines are like spider network interface. The distance is spreading, 2 guards and patrols, holding memory guns, and the guns are moving with a blue light. Check B2, the sample room is locked. One said, the sound was low. Nalan and the others hid into the door storage room on the side, and the doors emitted light, and Zimo's brain flashed through training. The magnetic field is like water, penetrated. Hui Qian said in a low voice, "Boy, interfere with laser and monitoring, and put in a small area first. Don't open it all, and attract big fish." Zimo clicks his head and closes his eyes. The arms were numb, and the electromagnetic waves were dissipated like invisible ripples. The LED lights in the corridor flashed first, and then buzzed all, and the darkness swallowed everything. The red light of the laser slat is distorted, as if it is pulled and deflected by a magnet, and the wires are bent and broken, causing a slight arc sound. The monitored image head was moved by 2 times, the screen was snowflakes, and the warning lights of the AI system were knocked out. "Fuck, is the power off?" Shenhua cursed, open his flicker in the dark, and his feet were in a mess. Naylan smiled softly, "Is it good?" This is the feeling of high-tech on the face. Their security network was built with a lot of money, but it was stormed by your hand. Let's take advantage of the situation. They slipped out of the storage room, the Zimo was in the head, and the magnetic field kept interfering, causing the surrounding electronic equipment to continue short-circuit. The smell of burnt wires in the air, and the noise of guarding wireless radio buzzing, they hugged their heads and said, "The system collapsed. Report on it." The picture room is in the corridor, and the door is biologically identifiable, but Zimo's magnetic field is slammed and the electronic lock is unbuttoned. The light in the inside light automatically lights up, the working wall is filled with glass containers, a silver-colored device with a big fist flashes the blue light, the memory delete sample, like a high-tech brainwave helmet, the internal chip movement. Naylan's eyes lit up, it's it. It can erase specific memories within 24 hours and implant illusions. Get it? However, the outside of the door was rushing, and 3 reinforced guardrails were used to hold metal shields and flame suppressors, the anti-efficiency equipment of the organization. The shield was thick and solid, and the suppressor sprayed cold mist. "Invader! Turn on the fire," the leader shouted, and the memory gun lighted up. Zimo's heart was tightened, fearing that he would fall, but the storm last night made him calm. Hui Qian pushed him, on the flame. "Burn their weapons, precise." He stretched out his right hand, his gloves heated up, and the flames burst out like whips. But this time, he blended into the magnetic field, heat energy guided along the magnetic line, and the blue-white flames headed straight for the guard gun and shield. Sizzle! The metal of the gun body is first red and then melts and deforms, the blue chip bursts, and sparks are 4 times. The shield is burned, the cold smoke suppressor contacts the flame, the internal refrigerant boils, sprays white smoke, and coughs to retreat. Hot! Why can't this fire be burned? A cry of anger, his arm was damaged, and the weapon fell to the ground and turned into iron water. The refreshing feeling is like current swelling the whole body of the ink. High-tech security? Before my extraordinary energy, it was as crisp as paper. He laughed, and the magnetic field swept, and the falling iron water fragments floated up, like a thunderbolt shot towards Guanwei's legs, making them kneel down and unable to get up. Naylan took the opportunity to grab the script and stuff it into her bag. Hui Qian kicked one with one foot, and her fist smashed the other's wrist protection. "Clean and neat, boy. You are both wise and brave. This wave of face hitting is worth it." But it turned out. The warning finally came up, and the red lightning was built, and the entire underground layer was shocked. More guards are swept from the side, the laser network is restarted, and the red line is approaching. Close the exit. Catch the living, and the brain needs to be alive. Zimo and the other 2 retreated to the back door, and Naylan gasped, "The backrest has been activated, and your interference can't last long. Run!" They pulled out of the room, Zimo ran around to maintain the magnetic field, stormed the pursuers' guns, and the flame whip slashed the laser line. The corridor was in a mess, the shouts of guarding the air, the buzzing of the electric arc, the crackling of the flames, the heat waves were swollen, and the sweat mixed with the smell of smoke made Zimo's eyes sting. After Hui Qian cuts off, she pushes the blocking iron door in a field, Naylan opens the road ahead, and the tablet navigates to avoid traps. Finally, they pulled out of the main building, and the pickup truck was driven by a slaughter. They rode their car and slapped the dust on their tires. The pursuer's SUV was kicked out of the park, and the gun sounded, and Zimo brushed over the tail of the car. Sparks burst out. Zimo stretched out his hand from the rear window. The electromagnetic wind exploded. The SUV electronic system was short-circuited. The car lights and tires were locked. One rolled and hit the tree, and the other was out of control and rubbed. "Get rid of it!" Nayland shouted, speeding up to merge into the car. On the way back, Zimo leaned against the seat, panting heavily. The picture buzzed and buzzed in the Nayland bag, like a living thing. Inner twist, this thing not only erases the target, but also controls the overall situation. Think about the options and policies, are all fake? The city is prosperous on the surface, and underneath is a prison for the brain. I can't just save a few people, I have to fight in full swing and burn it as much as possible. This consciousness is like a fire, igniting his motor, from personal protection to urban heroes. The basement was spotted with dim lights and they surrounded the workplace. Nayland carefully opened the sample, and the blue light reflected her face. The core of the chip is used to interfere with the memory center with brain frequency. After reverse, we can act as a deletion device to save those victims. Hui Qian approached and her eyes narrowed. "Boy, look at this structure. It reflects angioplastic waves. Your electromagnetic energy neutralizes it. The upgrade potential is great. After the fusion, your storm not only attacks, but also protects shields and attacks brain waves. Fight more in practices, and quickly unblocks the new layer." Zimo clicks his head and clamps his fist. The joy of growing up made his eyes look softer when he looked at Nayland. "Naren, thank you for your information. If you weren't you, we would have been lost. You will always be in front of you, and I will protect you this time." Nayland was stunned, smiled and patted his arm. "It's a team. From the day you wake up, I knew you were the guy who could change the situation. Don't be polite, we burned the TV network together." As he was speaking, Nayland's tablet jingled and an anonymous message popped up. The edge of the experiment room was missing, and the head was furious. The security of the core base was upgraded, but the B4 level had weaknesses. VIX private access, 24 hours of action. Don't trust anyone, the ghost is moving. See? Hui Qian smiled and said, "See? Chingzai. I've heard him. I've revealed my story, and it's a sign of trouble. But I suspect it's a big deal, and it may be a trap." Zimo's heart sank, and he was suspected to be like a shadow covering. But this story highlighted hope, and he looked at Nayland and Hui Qian, and felt confident. No matter whether it is true or not, we have to. The city can't wait, and the ghosts may be allies. Let's face them together. Nayland pointed his head, his eyes were mixed, and his tacit understanding was like a spark. Hui Qian smiled and said, "Boy, you are growing up. Let's go and prepare for the next battle." Outside, the smoke from the industrial park and the dynamic hidden danger of the city. The blue light in the picture moves on the clay, like a heart, indicating a greater storm. Zimo felt that the power surged in his body, and the motor was rising, and the road to heroes became clearer. The sun was as bright as blood, dyeing the skyline of the city. The glass curtain wall of the high-rise building reflected a dazzling orange light, like countless sharp blades. Zimo sat in the back seat of the pickup truck, holding the memory in his hand to delete the sample. The blue light moved through his fingers, like a restless evil spirit. The air still retains the bitter aroma of coffee and the burnt smell of the electric wire, but now they are driving towards the old underground station at high speed. Nayland held the direction plate tightly, and after his eyes swept over, Hui Qian reported in the substitute, "The monitoring network of the movie network has been upgraded, and that bastard Vic must have sold our position." The southern suburb samples were lost, and their rebellion came quickly. Zimo's heartbeat was like a drum, and last night's analysis made him sleepless for a night. That not only erase memory, but also implants loyal instructions. Think of those passers-by on the street and colleagues in the company, they may all be washed into walking dead. He held the hand ring tightly and felt the electromagnetic field slightly moving in his body. From the panic of first awakening to the current middle-level control, this power has been as smooth as an old friend. If they dare to come, I burn their silence. Naylin, where's Vic's private access? C's message said that it was 24 hours of movement, and now there is only half the time left. Naylin smiled, and a tired determination was heard in her voice. At the north exit of the old underground railway station, the underground passage of the high-rise building directly leads to level B4. But before entering, you have to shake off your tail. Look, there are 2 black cars in the back, and you will follow the industrial park. She stepped on the gas door and the pickup truck rushed into the main road in the city center. The car was like a tide, the horns were heard everywhere, and the air was filled with the tail gas and the smell of roasted oil on the street. Hui Qian turned his head and looked sharp. Boy, be prepared. This is the horse team of the China National Aggression, the keyhead team of the film network, the elite who specializes in capturing the extremists. Your electromagnetic flame combo, last time I tried in the factory area, now enlarge the scope. War simple, after I stopped, you will be the main attacker. Remember, protect your teammates and don't be heroes. Zimo clicks on her head, and a warm current flows in her heart. From an overtime dog to now having a responsibility, this change has made his spine straight. But I'm afraid it's still there, like a small squid under the shadow. He took a deep breath with the neon scent, his palms were slightly warm. Suddenly, the black car in the rear camera accelerated, the window descended, and the gun was poked out. The blue bulge shot in, wiped the pickup trunk, and made a sizzling sound. They're on fire. Memory gun, don't get hit. Naylin shouted, and rushed into the alleyway of a high-rise huddle. The pickup tire screamed, and the harsh sound of rubbing against the ground made the black teeth fatal. The 2 black cars were chewing, and the third one was cut from the side alley and closed the road ahead. Members of the Hornets got off the car, and a dozen men in black were scattered, holding laser shields and memory to remove guns, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. The leader was Vic, who sneered, "Boy, you escaped last time, this time the whole team went out. Hand over the goods and samples, otherwise you will erase your brains and make you forget who you are." The tunnels are narrow, and the high-rise buildings stand like a valley, with sunlight slanting and shadows stretching. Naylin stopped the car and pulled out the gun and got off the car. "Zimo, cover me up and go to the back door." Hui Qian, left wing. Hui Qian rushed out, and an invisible force field suppressed the first wave of slams, buzzing and buzzing. Zimo followed, his heartbeat accelerated, and his brain flashed over Xiaowei's smile. He couldn't let her fall into the hands of these bastards. The battle explodes. The men in black were like wolves, and the laser shields intertwined into a network, and the memory of the gun was dancing in blue arcs. Zimo took a deep breath, stretched out his hands, and the hand ring was buzzing, and the electromagnetic field was like a giant network. The surrounding street lights and street signs were buzzing and floating, and the plates were whirling like a swarm of bees. "Come on!" he growled, and with his thoughts, the iron pieces shot towards the enemy like rain. The shield slammed part, but the magnetic field entered, the electronics inside the shield were short-circuited, and the red light flashed off. The man in black caught off guard and shouted, "Magnetic field interferes. This kid has been upgraded." Vic's face was blue, and his gun shot out a strong thrust and headed straight for Zimo. Breaking him. The blue arc was like a snake. Zimo felt his arms numb and the magnetic field was shaking. But he gritted his teeth and calmed down, and the flame gloves were connected, and the heat waves rushed into the field. The blue-white electromagnet flame exploded violently, swirling around the front row of enemies. The flame tongue guides along the magnetic line, ignites the gun body, melts the metal, and visually shaking the dragon rolling like thunder and electricity wrapping the fire. The heat waves swing, and the air is distorted. The 2 men in black were burned in their clothes, their weapons turned into iron water, and they mourned, "It's so hot. What's going on with this fire?" The pleasure was like a current swelling, and Zimo laughed, "High technology. In front of me, waste." From the precision of the warehouse to the current multiple enemies reversal, this middle-level control made him feel like he was a tiger. The Horn team quarreled. Hui Qian took advantage of the opportunity to enter the left wing, smashed the 3 people with a slightest stadium, shouting, "Boy, that's great!" In the elevator shaft on the right, smashed them with metal, and blocked the road. The elevator door at the entrance of the high floor was twisted under the magnetic field. Zimo pulled his mind and the steel cable and metal frame in the elevator buzzed and broke and floated in the air. The giant steel block was smashed like a stone, and 3 men in black hit the nail on the head. Their shields were shattered, their bones were broken, and they were pressed down. "It hits. Continue, don't give them a breath." Hui Qian's war was like a light tower, and Zimo pointed it at the head, controlling more debris. The trash can on the road and the metal columns parked on the parking turned into a metal storm, smashing and scattering. The enemy could not avoid it, and the alleyway became a repair field, and the sound of the coral and metal collision intersected, and the dust flew away. Nalan opened the way, and the gun sounded a slap. She lowered her body and flashed her gun and rushed to the back door. But Vic was cunning, surrounded her side, and a memory gun shot her directly in the back. The blue arc brushed over her shoulders, and Nalan hummed and fell to the ground, her eyes flashing and confused. "My memory is blurred." The gun effect broke out, and her brain flashed over an illusion. She was from the movie network, and Zimo was the enemy. The inner self is so unique. No, this is not true. But she was afraid that her handgun would fall to the ground. Vic approached and sneered, "Naren, remember? I washed you by hand 2 years ago, and now I will come back again to let you be loyal to the organization forever." Zimo's heart is like an ice cave. Nalan. The woman who always smiled and told him about love, the partner who shared the past, could not make her a puppet. The anger exploded, and the sense of responsibility burned the heart like a flame. From personal self-protection to the deep emotions now, this twist made his heart change. "She believed in me, I can't let her go. For her and for the city, I have to protect you." "Naren, hold on," he shouted, rushed forward. The electromagnetic field opened, interfering with Vic's gun. The blue arc twisted and deviated, hitting the central wall, and the electric arc was 4 times. Vic turned around, the green light device lit up, and the counter waves were emitted. But Zimo was approaching, and the flames were storming to protect the body, and the blue fire ring was like armor. He punched it out, and the heat could lead to the magnetic field. Vic's device was short-circuited and the green light disappeared. What kind of monster is this?" Vic retreated. Zimo gave no chance. He slapped the magnetic field, his waist was tightened by a metal whip, and his flame whip was shattered, burning his sleeves. Vic screamed in pain and fell to the ground. When his subordinates saw him, the party wanted to save him, but was caught by Hui Qian's force. Zimo picked up Nalan and retreated to the high building. Her eyes were fascinated and she murmured, "Zimo, are you an enemy?" He felt heartbroken and patted her face lightly. "No, I am your partner. Thinking about the fire in the warehouse and the storm of the factory, let's burn the shadow network together." His words were like an acquaintance. Nalan's eyes were clear, and she held his hand tightly. "Yes, thank you, boy. You saved me." At this moment, the emotions deepened like a warm current, and Zimo felt that his responsibility was exploding. It was no longer a lone wolf, he had teammates and had a sling. They rushed into the high-rise building, the glass doors shattered, and the warning work was made. The pursuers rushed in, with more than 20 people, and the laser network sealed the exit. Hui Qian was panting, "Boy, light the floor to block the floor. Use all the metal in the elevator shaft, combo hits." Zimo pointed his head and walked up the elevator platform. The mine swept wildly, and the elevator's steel on the entire building cracked, and the number of metals was like crazy, smashed down from the building. "Rise!" The steel block was like a giant flap, hitting the enemy in the front row, and the sound of the bones was broken and the dust was spreading. The vision was as shocking as a disaster. The metal rain was pouring into a basin, the enemy screamed and shook, and the shape of the body collapsed. Without giving up, Zimo clenched his fists in both hands, the flames burst out, and the heat waves spread along the magnetic field. The blue-white flame tongue rolled into the stairs, lit up the carpet and decoration, and the firewall rose to stop the pursuit of the troops. The heat was steaming, the smoke was blowing, and the flames mixed with the enemy's curse. The fire is closed. Retreat. The Hornet team was defeated, and Vic was dragged away by his subordinates, and he blew the next sentence. The head of the brain will remember this account. The core base is waiting for us. The reverse rotation was like an orgasm, and Zimo sat on the stairs. Sweating was mixed, and his heart was filled with unprecedented satisfaction. From the absolute situation of multiple enemies to the visual storm of combo, this mid-level control has allowed him to truly change. No longer panic, he is the guardian. Nayland leaned against his shoulder and said lightly, "You have become stronger, protect me." "So really?" Hui Qian walked over and patted him on the back. "The war is perfect, boy." The shadow of the ghost sea appears. When Vic withdraws, I heard someone in his headphones whispering, "Release water." Maybe Changzhe is helping. The core base is close, but the harem is deeper. They slipped out of the high building, the night fell, and the city lights were like a sea of stars. The pickup truck was trapped in the car, and Zimo looked at the flames behind him and knew that the storm had just begun. The door of the B4 layer is already flashing in front of you. The entrance to the old underground station is hidden in a forgotten underground passage in the city center. It is surrounded by broken iron carriages and walls full of moss. The air is filled with damp, musty smell and the low birds of remote railway trains. After Zmo and the other two took off from the battle on the high floor, they walked straight to the tunnel, and the pickup truck was parked behind the hidden abandoned car. Nayland wiped off the sweat from his head and gasped, "Wick, that bastard, escaped faster than a rabbit." But the whisper in his earphones, "C is definitely Changzhe. He is making trouble inside the organization, we have to be careful." Hui Qian clicked her head and took out the memory sample from her bag. The blue light moved in the dark like a restless eye. "Boy, the electromagnetic flame shield just now saved Nayland's life. You went from panic to active protection, and this step was stable. But the core base is not a strife. The B4 layer is the heart of the movie network, and the memory core is there. Before entering, you must confirm the static of the ghost." Zimo leaned against the wall, his hand was slightly hot, and the warmth was still reminding him of the heat of the alley war. Nayland's trusted eyes warmed his heart, but Vic's threat was like a shadow. "I get it. You can't let humans guns, especially you. C's message says Vic's private access, we use that dive into it. But what about him being a double-faced person?" As the voice fell, Nayland's tablet jingled, and a new message popped up, a map screen, marking the weakness of the B4 layer, the east side of the wind pipeline, which directly leads to the backup server room. "P.S. I am Changzhe, a traitor in the organization. The plan for the brain has been exposed. They not only erase personal memory, but also use the core to emit brain waves, and implant loyal instructions in the city. Politicians, enterprises, and even your friends and relatives are all puppets. The entrance to the channel is at the north exit and operates within 24 hours. I cover it up, but don't have a full message. The movie network is nowhere to be there. Meet and talk." Zimo's eyes were rounded and his brain was buzzing. "What are the brain swelling in the city?" I imagine that Xiaowei suddenly had a blank look when she was at work, and her parents were looking at the mechanical point when they were watching the TV. This picture was like a knife. Fuck, this is too big. Changzhe. Why did he help us? The previous information sounds like a rescuer now. Nayland's eyebrow quickly scanned the map. The coordinates are worthy of Vic's private access. He is a mid-level intelligence officer in the organization, specializing in handling traitors. Pretend to be an ally? Maybe. But if there is a citywide plan, we can't wait. Hui Xian, what do you think? Hui Qian narrowed her eyes and touched her chin. The smell of inconsistency is heavy. Changzhe reported that he was not full of his brain and revealed rumors to outsiders 2 years ago. But he was suspicious. This is a sensible thing, leading us into a trap? Boy, your electromagnetics are the most sensitive. Use it to scan the channel first to confirm that there is no tracer. Our team is moving, and after I stop, you and Nayland will attack. Zimo is dotted with the head, and the 5 flavors in the heart are chaotic. From trusting Ching's information to current vigilance, this transformation made him feel that he had grown up a little, no longer a blind bird. It would be learned to read people's hearts. Okay, go together. You can't let your brain succeed. The entrance to the north exit is hidden behind the fake wall, and the message of the inheritance is correct, a hidden door, which slides open after swiping the card, revealing a narrow ladder, with dim lights and air squids, like the breathing of a tomb. Zimo walked in front, his hand was buzzing, and the electromagnetic field was stretched out like an invisible touch, scanning the surrounding electronic signals. Clean, no trace. But there are hidden heads of images. I took them. When they went down to the B2 level, Ching's voice suddenly rose from the dark, low and urgent. Don't make a sound here. A figure walked out of the shadow, of a medium figure, wearing a gray uniform of the Shadow Network, a half-mask on his face, and a tired blue light in his eyes. He raised his hands and signaled that it was harmless. I'm Chingza, Nalan, you should have heard me. 2 years ago, I helped you escape. This time, I was over. The plan for the brain is crazy. The core not only backs up memory data, but also reverses the brainwashing the whole city. It will launch at midnight tomorrow, covering 5 kilometers of waves, implanting the faithful module to make the citizens forget to resist and listen forever. I exposed the passage to make you destroy the backup server. That's the copy of the core. If it is destroyed, half of the brain. Nalan's gun raised slightly, her eyes sharp. Certify that you are not a bottom. Why did Vic release water? Is your information accurate? Chingze smiled bitterly and passed the U-plate. The head is the journal of the brain, which proves everything. I let Vic go on purpose. He thought I was selling you, but I was dragging the time. Quick, the server room is on the east side of B4, with less security, but the security has an AI firewall. Zimo, your electromagnetic can break it. Zimo took the U-disc and swiped his hand to confirm that there was no virus. In her heart, this guy looks really honest, his eyes are pricked, as if he is being raped by a group. But Hui Qian's words are in her ears, don't believe it all. He pointed, take the way. But if there is a ghost, I will burn you first. The team followed, the passage meandered, and the footsteps were rumbling on the metal wall, slitting the buzz of the chaotic remote machine room. Chingze walked around and said, I joined the movie network for power, but my brain. He used the core to erase my wife's memory and made her forget me. Now, I just want to destroy this ghost place. Backup server is the key. If it is destroyed, it will not be released tomorrow. Arriving on the east side of B4, a thick iron door is slid with red panels and a scan line of the AI firewall. Identity verification. The mechanical sounded. The card was swiped, the door was half open, and the alarm was sent. The low beach was touching the corridor. Do you die? Fake love? His face turned pale. Zimo's heart sank, but the electromagnetic field has opened. He felt unusual, the signal behind the door was not inconsistent, and the hidden waves were retracted like the internet. Wait, this is not a backup room. When the magnetic field is swept, there are traps, memory gun arrays, and anti-iron energy suppressors. He shouted, and with his thoughts, the hand ring exploded, and the electromagnetic waves rushed into the panel like a tide. The red light is twisted, the AI system is buzzing in short circuit, and the door is clicking. But the alarm is made, the red lights are flashing, and the sound of the footsteps flows from all directions. Betray! Nalan cursed and pulled out his gun and shot the first wave of guards. Chingze retreated, his eyes flashed, no, I. Turning rapidly. Zimo's magnetic field penetrates into the U-disc, revealing hidden data. Under the fake map, there is a follow-up signal embedded, which leads to the head and brain. You bastard! There is a back door on the U-disc, leading us to a dead end. He roared, the flame gloves were hot, and the blue and white wind stormed out, igniting Ching's uniform edge. Chingze screamed, tearing off the mask, showing a twisted smile, boy, I'm smart. The command of the brain, pretend to be a traitor and lead you to the hook. This is his game, test your growth. The backup server is on the west side, and I just said the real channel. Now, you are all on the internet. Just a quick face is like a shock. Zimo's vigilance saved them from the impulse of trust information to the maturity of electromagnetic scan. This shaking shocked him. It turns out that human hearts are more evil than strange. I can no longer believe blindly, I have to judge myself. In his anger, he controlled the magnetic field, and the metal pipes in the tunnel twisted and smashed towards the flood guard. The iron tube whips the memory gun like a whip, the blue chip bursts, and sparks are 4 times. Naren, turn left. Huiqian, seal the door. Team counterattack. Nalan rose up, and a gun hit Qingzhi's leg. He fell to the ground and said, "The brain will reward me, you can't escape." Huiqian pushed the ball hard, grabbed the support, and shouted, "Boy, don't be distracted. The real server is on the west side, and you have your information, we will go." Zimo head, the electromagnetic field is fully opened, the corridor security is in the turbulent corridor monitoring the lamp, lasers slit cracks, guarding wireless buzzing noise, they hugged the head and bumped. The flame storm protect the body, the blue fire rings, and the heat waves force the enemy to retreat. The visual impact was like a storm. Zimo felt that the power was fusion deeper, from single pure attack to combat control, and this growth was like a fire burning old me. Entering the server room on the west side, the room is wide, and the wall is filled with flashing server cabinets. The blue light is like a sea of stars, the air is cool, and the buzzing current is buzzing. The core is backed in the center, a giant crystal column, and the internal data flows like a river. "It's it." Nalan gasped. Huiqian covered her door. Zimo took a deep breath and faced the crystal with his palm. The electromagnetic waves enter first, and the surrounding security network is damaged, the cabinet lights are fully discharged, and the alarm is stopped. Then, the flame explodes, and the heat can guide the magnetic field and directly hit the crystal base. The blue-white flame lit the metal on the tongue, melting, the data line broke, and the sparks burst. The crystal column was shaking, the internal chips were crackling and burning, the backup data dissipated like smoke, some memory core was destroyed, and the pleasure was like climax. Zimo laughed, "It's burning your back. The plan for the brain is half. But it is suspected of upgrading." When the server screen flashed, the image of the brain, a blurry black shadow, the sound was as cold as metal. "Boy, you have lost the backup, but the core body is intact. The whole city will start tomorrow, and I have controlled everything including your friends. Xiaowei has been implanted in the module. She will catch you with her hands. Welcome to the headquarters to witness my comprehensive empire." Zimo's heart is like an ice cave. Xiaowei? The heart was full of worries, from vigilance to deeper responsibility. This exposure made him clench his fists. "Bastard, I will burn your empire." Ching Zai's betrayal was like a knife, but it also made him mature. The team is the clerk, and personal growth is the weapon. Nalan pulled him, "Go! Reinforcements are coming." Huiqian kicked the escape door with one foot. They entered the pipeline. Afterwards, the explosion sounded, and the flames reflected the red passage. Zimo turned around, and the remaining fire in the server room was as predicted. I was deeply impressed, but his flames had already illuminated the way to counterattack. Outside the pipeline, the city's night lights are hidden, and the shadow of the brain is getting longer and longer. As soon as the pipe was a secret iron gate, Zimo pushed it hard, the beams opened creakingly, and the wind squirted around the oily smell of the underground railway station. The three of them crawled out. Nalan leaned against the wall with a heavy gasp. Huiqian slammed into the surrounding area. The lane of the old underground was flashing in the moonlight, and the far train was like a low warning. Zimo's heart was still beating wildly, and the blurry black image of his brain could not be removed. In his brain, Xiaowei's face appeared, and she said, "Catch you," with a hollow look. The picture was like a knife, making his fist white. Why should I die? That mock-up. Xiaowei was really caught? Zimo growled, his voice full of anxiety. From the refreshingness of reducing the backup to the powerlessness of the present, this turnaround made him feel that no matter how powerful he was, he could not resist the threat of his friends. Nalan wiped off the dust from her face, and the tablet was still buzzing in her hands. She glanced at the screen and raised her eyebrows. Wait, new message. It's not C's fake, it's the true inheritance. He posted a coordinate and voice. Listen. The sound of Cheng Zhe was so urgent. It's me, the real me. The U panel just now was a trap that Vic forced me to implant. He monitored me, but the server was destroyed, and the organization inside exploded. My head was furious, and the loyalists and dissatisfied people fought inside. I officially betrayed, and now in the inner fortress Dongi, for map attachment. Zimo, I saw it through monitoring. You have the potential to guide the enemy, don't blindfold your eyes. Join forces, attack the fortress, and ignite the fire of the rebellion. The ambition of the head is not only to cleanse the brain. He wants to build a technology empire and control the global brain wave network. Come on, the country is a chance. Hui Qian narrowed her eyes and touched her earphones. Boy, do you believe in this time? The betrayal just now is still hot. Zimo took a deep breath of damp air, and the eyes of Cheng Zhe falling to the ground when he fell to the ground, not pure evil, but piercing pain. From the vigilance of the warehouse to the maturity of the alley war, he felt that he had changed and was no longer a man who only protected himself. Leadership? Maybe, but the width is not weak, but for greater profits. Believe it once. The organization is in a mess, and we are just in a good position. Nailin, download the map. Hui Qian, Aunt, you upgrade your extraordinary ability and help me. You can't let Xiaowei wait anymore, we burn their worries. Nailin pointed her head and the corners of her mouth slightly. Good, boy. You have changed from an overtime dog to a boss, don't. She opened the attachment and projected a 3D map. The fortress structure was like a maze. Dongi marked Tenet Rebellion Vic's information room, where secret files full of brains are stored. They opened a stolen underground railway repair car, walked over the patrol, and headed straight to the fortress. The night was dark, and the city lights were like stars, but the fortress was hidden under the underground mall, and the entrance was disguised as a waste elevator shaft. Cheng Zhe was already at the door, his uniform was torn, his legs were wrapped in a temporary belt, and his face was white and calm. Come on. Vic thought I was dead in the pipeline, but he underestimated me. My wife's memory. The brain has destroyed it, and I endured it. Map, the loyalists in the inner circle are gathering, but there are not many elements. They are afraid of the brain's global plan and take us all as pawns. Zimo stared at him, the flame gloves were slightly hot, and his heart was so lonely. This guy just cheated us, are you looking for a partner now? But his eyes, like me, were lost in the silence. It turns out that he is not forgetting the harm, but giving himself the opportunity to lead this chaos. He stretched out his hand and patted Cheng Zhe's shoulder. Get up, brother. I understand the pain of betrayal. From now on, you are my person. Let your brain burn together and let your wife come back. Cheng Zhe was stunned, his eyes were wet, and he held Zimo's hand tightly. Thank you, boy. You have something that you don't have in your brain, people's hearts. Let's go. The information room is on the 3rd floor, and I'm covering up the communication and interference. The team dived, the elevator fell, the air became hot, and the oil and current were hummed. The interior of the fortress is like a science fiction castle, a blue light on the wall, and a growing number of corridor patrols. He followed the way and said lowly, you must hear the ambition of the head of the brain. There are evidences in the file. He not only controls the city, but also works with cross-border financial groups to build a brainbolt satellite network. If you don't find it tomorrow, you will wash your brain around the world and make humans his technology slaves. Politicians and enterprises are all springboards. Naylin's eyes lit up and her fists tightened. Bastard. It's hard to choose so dirty, and the business is in trouble. If we reveal this, we can break his roots. Her words were like fire, igniting the team's determination. Arriving at the East Wing, the police alarm was alarmed. The internal troubles were already exploded. As the corridor was in full swing, the loyal guards rushed out, holding a memory gun, and shouted, Traitor Cheng Zhe! Catch the living, your brain must be reviewed. The war broke out, the gun sounded and danced in a blue arc. Hui Qian's strength upgraded before rushing. She used the sample to reverse the situation last night, and the extraordinary energy fuses the brain waves to help, and the invisible barrier is like a water wall to hold the penis. Boy, interfere with communication. My force takes 10 minutes. Zimo points his head and his heart beats faster. From a small area to a large area, he felt the electromagnetic field stretching like a river. The hand ring is buzzing, and the mind is fully opened, and the invisible waves are like a tide rolling over the entire east wing. The Guardian wireless first buzzes the noise, then steers it all, monitors the screen snowflakes, the AI system collapses, and the red lights are blown away. The communication has been interrupted. I can't report it. The loyalists were quarrel and shouted to each other, their shape collapsed. The pleasure was like electric current swaying. Zimo laughed, now, turn to me. He rushed forward, and the man was shut, the flame gloves exploded, and the blue and white storm turned into a firewall, squeezing the enemy in the front row. The hot waves are swollen, the metallic gun body is melting hotly, and the blue arc is twisted and short-circuited. Qingzhe covered up, and knocked down one of them in close combat, shouting, good. The rebels heard my order, the Shozhuang sold us, join Zimo. Internal conflicts were like a fire pot blown up. He was dissatisfied with scrutiny, then dropped the gun to the loyal and honest school. The corridor became a Shuro field, with guns coming out everywhere, fist and foot swaying, and metal fragments flying. Zimo's magnetic field led to flames, and the flames whipped towards the loyal leader like a whip. The guy was slapped in the shield, but was heated in. The shield melted and dripped iron water, which made him scream and retreat. Monster! This fire is not burning. Zimo slammed the magnetic field, and the surrounding pipes broke, and the steel tubes smashed down like a giant horn, accurately pressing the three enemies, and the bones were broken and sounded. Seeing that the storm was raging like a storm, he felt like a war god, retreating 10 loyalists, and being so happy that he could be in his bones. From the hunted and murdered treasures to the leader who dominated the war, this turn made his heart boil. Naylan took advantage of the trouble and entered the information room. The file cabinet flashed. She quickly scanned the projection. Look. The imperial plan of the brain plan has been in the corridor, joining the Silicon Valley Financial Group, and will launch simultaneously tomorrow. Global slavery, erasing the genes of resistance. He is not a human, but an AI fusion, an immortal ambition. Her voice trembled, and she decided, Zimo, this certificate will be released, and the whole world will wake up. Hui Qian helped, and the upgraded brain barrier protected Zimo and suppressed a wave of anti-corrosion. Boy, stay calm. Your leader will make the rebellion expand. Follow the sect and take the way to the core passage. Qingzhe pointed his head, his legs were dragged, and his eyes were rekindled. The passage is in the West Hall, and the internal chaos is coming. The loyal faction is broken, and the dissatisfied follow us. He shouted, and more guards turned against each other and turned their guns to their former colleagues. At the climax of the war, Zimo ignited the rebellious fire line, a large area of flame storm, entering the wind system. The flames spread along the pipeline, and the firing ignited the fiery pharmacy. Rush! The explosion shook the fortress, the walls were cracked, and the smoke spread everywhere, and the clamor was everywhere. The loyal school was defeated, and Vic's voice continued from the deadly communication, do you have to die? There are too many ghosts inside. Your brain, reinforcements. Zimo was panting, sweat mixed with smoke slipped off her face. Inner's heart, it is right to be true to the original and inherit the truth. He is not an enemy, but a forced brother. The taste of this guide starts with broad content and brings out hope. Turning to the team, Naren, have the file been copied? Hui Qian, Auntie, stay on the top. We go straight to the core, save Xiaowei, and cut off our brain's ambition. Nalance entered the U-board and smiled, I've been coursed, it's all a certificate. Global empire? Be a dream. Hui Qian pointed at the head and said, I've been upgraded to a stable, boy. You take the head, we follow. Qingze limped and looked grateful, thank you for accepting me. The channel is close, but the AI guard in the brain is waiting. I'm suspicious, it knows we're coming. They rushed toward the West Hall, and the explosion was still in the turmoil, and the fortress was shaking like a sea of fire. The image of the head flashed on the wall, and the black shadow whispered, "Boy, you are ignoring the internal trouble, but the core subject is invincible. Come on, see how your friends betray you." Xiaowei is already at the door, waiting to open the gun. Suspicion is like a shadow covering. Zimo's heart sank, but the flames led by him are even stronger. I can't retreat, for them, I will do everything. The explosion of smoke was still spreading in the corridor, and Zimo led his head into the western hall, stepping on the broken glass, creaking. Qing's internal map saved a lot of busyness and avoided 2 landslides, but the threat of his brain was like a ray of light on his back. Xiaowei's image flashed in the brain, making him clench his fist tightly, and the electromagnetic field was slightly erected, preparing for the next wave. The iron door of the West Hall twisted and opened under Zimo's magnetic field, making a harsh metal tear sound like a wild beast's growl. In the smoke, the core body of the memory in the center of the room stands like a giant crystal tower of flashing blue light, surrounded by multiple station points. Each station point is a brain-wave transmitter, buzzing, and the air is filled with the smell of electricity and the hidden burnt breath. The guardian body scattered all over the ground, and the chaotic waves made it a Xiaoluo field, but Zimo's eyes were staring at the door. Xiaowei stood there, wearing a simple white shirt. Her eyes were as empty as a doll, holding a memory gun in her hand, and the gun was aimed at him. "Xiaowei." Zimo's heart was like an ice cave, and he stopped. Her face was still so familiar. Last night, the girl who was complaining about working overtime was now mechanically shooting, and the blue light was moving on the gun. "Put down the gun. I'm Zimo, your boyfriend. What did they do to you?" Xiaowei's lips were slightly moved, and the sound tablet was like a machine. "The goal is confirmed, it is powerful. Execute the erase command." She pulled down the puller, and the blue arc shot out like a poisonous snake, heading straight to Zimo's chest. Nalan shouted, "Flash!" He pulled his side, rubbed his shoulders, and the burning sensation poured into his skin. Zimo felt dizzy in his brain. His memory was blurry, and last night's appointment and her smile slipped away. "Baby's brain!" Zimo roared angrily, his heart burning. The flames of revenge were shattered, and he wanted to burn everything, but looking at Xiaowei's empty eyes, his heart was like a knife. From self-protection to protection of friends, this turnover made him grit his teeth. Can't hurt her, save her. He took a deep breath of smoke, and the electromagnetic field exploded, and the invisible waves covered Xiaowei's gun. The gun was buzzing in short circuit, and the blue light twisted and fell. She was stunned, her hands trembling slightly. Qingze gasped and stepped forward. His legs were damaged, making his face pale. "Boy, don't come in." She hit the core module and implanted loyalty instructions. Her brain manipulated her brain waves, like a remote control toy. "But I have a way." In the file I exuded, the core weakness is the energy center, the chip array at the bottom of the tower. If it is destroyed, it can reverse the module and wake the victim up. But, it has to be close. Huiqian's strength rose, holding the high-level guardians who swept from the side. 5 elites, wearing reinforced armor, holding anti-iron slams, and having red eyes, like an AI fusion monster. "Boy, protect Xiaowei." "Nalan, the information is covered, I'll keep these iron cans on top. Your extraordinary energy is great, fuse it and burn them." High-level guardians come, swaying and dancing, red arcs like a net blocking space. Zimo La Xiaowei retreated, and she instinctively slammed and murmured, "Inim, arrest." Her heart was alone. She is not an enemy, but my light. You can't get revenge, you have to save her injustice. This thought was like a flash of electricity, and he felt the burning and heat of the hand ring and gloves blend, and the energy inside his body was like a volcano erupting. The electromagnetic field is no longer a single pure wave, but a deep fusion with the heat energy of the flame. The blue and white fire line moves along the magnetic field, forming an ultimate mode, the electromagnetic flame storm. "Come on!" Zimo growled and pushed forward with both hands. The wind exploded, rotating like a dragon roll, and the blue and white flames wrapped in metal fragments, separated from the surrounding pipes and armor, turning into a rain of arrows. The visual impact is like the doomsday scene. The flames lick the first guardian snail, and the heat can penetrate into the circuit. The sword body melts, the red arc backfires, and the guardian sneers and falls to the ground. The armor cracks, revealing the charred flesh and blood. Impossible! This fire penetrates the field? Another shouted, slashing in. Zimo's body flickered, and with a thought guided, it was as violent as a living creature to slap the blade. The magnetic field locks the metal, the flame catalyzed high temperature, the sword instantly broke and cracked, and the fragments bounced into the guard chest. The pleasure is like a current swelling, from the middle level of precision to the current destruction. He feels like a god descending. These high-tech monsters are as crisp as paper before my final mode. Put your face, these Iron Men. The elite of the organization? A joke. He laughed, the storm spread out, and the 3 guards were rolled over. The blue fire penetrated into their armor gap along the magnetic line, and the internal circuit burst in a short circuit. Sparks were filled with 4 waves, and the air was distorted into a hot mist. They knelt on the ground and mourned their arms, melting drops of iron and water, and burning flesh and blood to the nose. Naylan opened the gun to cover it. Ziwe's last guarding knee was hit. When he fell to the ground, she shouted, Zimo, stand point. Those brainwave emitters will get a break. Ziwe's head was finally stormed like a whip to thrust towards the first standpoint. The blue-white flame tongue hits the base directly, the magnetic field swells the electrons, the flames ignite the wafers, crackling and explode, the station turns into a fireball, and the blue light dissipates. The energy waves reflected. Xiaowei's body was tiny, her eyes flashed through a clear light. Zimo? The head hurts so much. Hold it! Zimo was happy and rushed to the second stop. The high-level Guardian party got up and came back. One sprayed out the suppressing fog, and the air was as cold as a knife. But Zimo's storm had already been completed, and the heat could neutralize the cold smog and evaporate it into white smoke. When he remembered that the storm was smashed out, the flames led to magnetic force, and the guard shield shattered like paper, and a big hole was burned in his chest. Your technology is so delicious when you burn it. The pleasure was so great that he destroyed 3 stations. Each time he destroyed one, the core tower shook, the blue light dimmed, and the room was shaking like an earthquake. Hui Qian leaned on the wings on the top of the field and said breathlessly, Boy, awesome. Your ultimate mode burns through their defenses. But the AI guard on the head is coming. Look, the red eyes on the top of the tower. A red light scan was open on the top of the tower, the AI robot arm extended, the laser cannon charged, and the stator ink was locked. In the crisis, Qingzhe swung towards Xiaowei and slammed her inadvertently. Boy, listen. The weak point of his brain, he is not a human, but an AI consciousness with the core fusion, a quantum chip that is weak in energy. Then at the bottom of the tower, if it is destroyed, he will be in trouble. But I have to open the way. He turned around, his legs were damaged, and he pulled out the hidden electromagnetic explosion and rushed towards the base of the tower. I used this thing to blow up the protective cover. You go in and burn the chip. Naylan, take Xiaowei away. No, Qingze. You! Zimo shouted, but Qingze had already pressed to turn off. The blaster's blue light burst, the tower base shield cracked, and the energy waves backed. His body felt like it was being hit by electricity, and he fell to the ground. Blood stormed out of his mouth, staring at Zimo. Boy. Thank you for accepting me. I destroyed it, for my wife, for all the victims. His hands were loose, and the wheel rolled down, with the precise position of the chip inside. The beast was as thunderous as thunder, and Zimo was heartbroken. I just hated his betrayal, and now he used his life to expose his weakness. This turnover, from the anger of revenge to the righteous face, he felt that the power had changed. It was not an enemy, but a new life. Qingze, you are a brother. I will protect this city for you. Die it. Zimo's red eyes finally opened, and the blue-white flames rushed towards the base of the tower like a crazy dragon. The magnetic field locks the chip position, the flames hit, melting the quantum array, the tower body shakes, the blue light collapses, and the fragments are filled with force swells. The AI red eyes flashed, the mechanical arm drooped without force, the core body suddenly tilted, and the explosion was flooded like a tide. But the urban crisis is approaching. During the tower collapse, the warning was full of reports, ad-use bullets are activated. The whole city's brainwaves are covered, and it will be launched within 10 minutes. On the screen, the black image of the brain laughed, "Boy, you have destroyed the core, but the satellite is in place. Tomorrow, the world's brainwashing will be washed, and I'll wait for you to come to the headquarters to decide the battle. You're Xiaowei, wake up, but the city has become my chessboard." Xiaowei's eyes were clear and she fell softly in Nalan, "Zimo. I'm sorry, Nalan hugged her and shouted, "Boy, withdraw. Huiqian, cover it up." Huiqian's strength expanded, holding the collapsed fragments, and the three of them protected Xiaowei towards the escape door. Zimo turned back to Chengzai's body and felt confident in his heart, his sacrifice is not the end, but the starting point of my righteousness. "My head, wait, I burn your empire." They pulled out of the fortress, and the night wind blew, and the city lights were like a sea of stars, but at the top of the high floor, the red light hidden, the signal tower that was equipped with sills was flashing. Nalan gasped, "Boy, the core has been destroyed, but the headquarters of the head is underground in the skyscraper in the city center. We have to finally end up with him before tomorrow. Xiaowei wakes up, your protection is worth it." Zimo clenched his fist tightly, and the heat of the ultimate pattern was still moving inside his body. From revenge to righteousness, this electricity changes like a flame rebirth. The city crisis was like a fall, but he was ready for the final battle. Motorcycle engines are flying, they blend into the night, and the shadow of their brains grows longer and longer. The motorcycle's engine growled in the night wind, Zimo grabbed the handle tightly, Xiaowei leaned against his chest, breathing still a little rapid. Her eyes finally became clear, and the water slid down her face, mixed with smoked smudges. "Zimo. I just thought I was theirs. Those fake memories were like dreams. Sorry, I almost..." Her voice trembled, and she held his hand tightly, as warm as a flame to save the Emperor. Zimo's heart softened, the wind blew his hair, and the city's lights pulled up from behind. He patted her on the back lightly, and his heart was ashamed of silence. She woke up, "This is my victory. Chengzai's victims in those streets are worth the full value." From a fearful office worker to a guardian who is now saving his beloved, this turn makes him feel as stable as a peak. "Don't say sorry, Xiaowei. You're noisy, you're those bastards. I'll burn them to let you remember us forever." His vocals were firm, and Nalan opened his way, Huiqian's pickup followed, and the car lights were like guarding eyes. They turned into a remote back alley and stopped at the temporary point in Nalan, a deserted warehouse, a pile of glass boxes at the door, the air was filled with damp iron smell and the low music of the remote bar. Nalan jumped off the motorcycle, shook off her helmet, and her long hair was loose. "Go in first, the preparatory pellet of the brain is over. There is a cable in Chengzai's U-plate, so I'll dig it." The basement lights are dim and Huiqian clicks a chicken-old lamp to project the data flow of the U-dish. Zimo helped Xiaowei sit down, she drank a sip of water, her face turned red. "I remember, when they grabbed me, they implanted things with their helmets. Where is Dad? Are they manipulated too?" Her question was like a slight, and Zimo's heart sank. The images of parents flashed, and those warm dinners and Dad's old jokes could all be erased. Nalan knocked on the tablet and the screen flashed, "Dad is safe at a while. I broke the monitoring and they watched the TV at home." But the plan for the brain was exposed, not only in the city, but the city's memory control is test, and it is equipped with satellite to connect the global brainwave network. Under the skyscraper is the headquarters, and his deputy Vic is there to point out the support. The file says Vic is the right-hand man of the brain, specializing in handling the cleaning. We have to directly snatch his base and stop supporting. Huiqian was approaching, her short hair was shining under the light. She stared at Zimo, her eyes were like a teacher, saying, "Boy, listen. This is the last class. Your ultimate pattern has been completed, but to achieve peaks, you must unblock the resonance fusion electromagnetics. Not only can it be crazily, but also can resonate with the urban network and amplify the scope. Go to the urban level. Imagine your area is like a root system, and enter the internet. The flame is fuel and ignite the key points. But the key is the heart. It is not anger, it is the fullness of emotions. Save Xiaowei and friends, so that your anomalies can explode from the inside out. Try, concentrate, and feel the movement of the internet." Zimo closed his eyes, Xiaowei held his hands tightly, and came warmly. He felt the hand ring buzzing, and the energy in his body gathered like a river. The words of inheritance in the brain, Nalan's trust, Huiqian's guidance, Xiaowei's purity, all of this is like an affair, which makes the fear retreat, and replaced by the calmness of the Feng. Electromagnetic field expansion, hindering the road light movements away, like the city's struggle. It's done, I feel it, the current in the whole city is in my palm. Nalan's eyes lit up, okay. Vic's base is in the east wing of the skyscraper, and the support teams are gathering from all directions, SUVs, armored cars, and even unmanned aircraft groups. The story is closed, the brain is on the top, but Vic's deputy room has a console that can summon more minions. We face him directly, reveal the plan, and burn his worries. Xiaowei stood up, her eyes calmed down. I'll go with you. I can't hide anymore. I want to see you finish all this. Zimo pointed his head and felt warm in his heart. This emotion is full, like the final piece, allowing his power to emerge. They set off, motorcycles and pickups shuttled through the night, the high-rise buildings in the city center stood like giants, and neon lights flashed like fences. The entrance to Vic's base is hidden in the underground parking lot of skyscrapers, with the flashing of iron sluice and pungent smell of gasoline and current in the air. Nalan swipes the card and dives in, Huiqian covers up the scene, and Xiaowei tightens Zimo. Be careful, the backup has arrived and the surrounding area is blocked. Sure enough, multiple parties suppressed the internet. The East SUV team was equipped with a storm, 20 black cars were encircled, the West was unmanned aircraft buzzing and red light scanned, the South was armored and crushed roadblocks, and the muzzle was flashed. Vic's voice sounded from the loudspeaker and sneered at the parking lot, "Boy, you have destroyed the core and ignited the internal affairs, but the empire and the brain is more than this city. Come to the deputy room and witness the full memory control global brain network, erase resistance, and implant eternal loyalty. You and your little girlfriend are all pawns." Zimo's heart beat faster, and his anger was in full swing. He climbed up to the platform in the center of the parking lot, stretched out his hands, and resonance fusion started. The electromagnetic field spreads like invisible huge waves, entering the city network. The road lights are buzzing and flashing, the neon lights in the whole city are twisted, and the lights on the high-rise buildings are falling like snowflakes. The grand and refreshing explosion, the internet is synchronized with his field, and Zimo feels like a god controlling his life. The unmanned aircraft group first reacted, the circuit was shorted, and the buzzing bird turned into a falling spiral, the red light dropped, and it hit the ground like a meteor shower, with sparks 4 times. It's gone. The whole city's network is in my hands. He laughed, his vision of shocking like the end of the city. The lights were burning all over, the darkness swallowed the streets, the lights of the team were flashing and the engine was shut down, the armored turret was killed, and the SUV tire burst and lost control and hit the wall. The rebellion was swept away, and it was as refreshing as the tide. The man in black rolled out from the car, and the curse connected, the internet collapsed. Did this guy control the whole city? Vic glared in the control room and smashed the table. Impossible. Where's the counter? But Zimo's resonance was too strong, the electronic door inside the base was locked, the lights were shattered, the guard-hugged head was buzzing, and the wireless buzzing noise was buzzing. Nalan shouted, "The east wing passage is open. Pull!" They entered the deputy room. The room was wide, the screen flashed on the wall, Vic stood in the center, his face was blue, holding the last green device. "Boy, You've been a backup, but the plan for the head of the brain is exposed. The satellite center station on the top of the skyscraper has connected to the global network. It will be launched tomorrow, and the memory of all human beings is reshaped. Politicians are loyal, corporate hearings, and family and friends forget to resist. Your father has been implanted in a module. They are waiting for you at home, and surrender themselves. The exposure was like thunder, and Zimo flicked his parents' faces in his brain, and his heart was as painful as fire. But Xiaowei shook his hand tightly. No, we burn it together. This emotion supported, causing the peak power to explode. The secret taught by Hui Qian came into effect, resonance fusion and upgrading the device of the electromagnetic locking digitizer. The flame gloves burned and the blue-white flames burst out. Vic reversed the device, and the green light was irradiated, but Zimo's field was like a net package, and the heat could enter. The device melted and the green light sucked back. He shouted to retreat, hot. How is this fire? Zimo did not give any chance, and the storm spread, igniting the room console. The screen burst, the data line burned, crackling sparks were everywhere, and the base was rising like a sea of fire. The great burning and burning sounds come. The flame is guided along the internet's residual cable, and it is inserted into the underground pipeline from the auxiliary room, and the ignition of the pharmacy and fuel tank. Rise! The explosion shook the skyscrapers, and the firelight burst out from the underground, reflecting half of the city, with hot waves shaking and smoke spreading. Vic's base turned into a fireball, and the slaughter of the support team melted in the sea of fire, and the metal twisted and dripped, and the storm was called a reincarnation. You wretch, bastard! Zimo roared, his heart full of peaks, saving Xiaowei, storming the whole city. This growth from being a person to guard the city made him feel invincible. Vic slammed the fire and his face twisted. The brain will come here. He was swallowed by the flames and turned into a scorch. Naylan grabbed the remaining data and shouted, the station position in the satellite is locked. Top level, the brain is waiting for us there. Huishi, Aunt, your strength is upgraded, protect us from the building. Hui Qian clicked her head, and her brain waves expanded like an invisible shield that held the collapsed fragments. Boy, you're overwhelmed. The emotions are full, so the power of the extreme is endless. Let's go, the final battle. Xiaowei hugged Zimo. You and I, my mom, let's solve it together. They rushed out of the sea of fire, the stairs were hot and the explosion was still on the verge of turtles. In the darkness of the city, the red light on the top of the skyscraper is like the ridicule of the brain. But Zimo's flames were burning to the end. The internet's movement is still in the palm of your hand, the way to guard is close at hand. The stairs of the skyscrapers were as hot as fire. The explosion caused the walls to crack, and dust and smoke came over the surface, smudged with the pungent smell of burnt wires. Zimo held Xiaowei and stepped up step by step, stepping on the twisted metal, creaking. Naylan opened the way, holding his gun tightly. Hui Qian's force was like an invisible bubble to protect the back, holding the fragments from the ground. Xiaowei's breathing was still a little confused, and she grabbed Zimo's arm tightly. Dad, they are at home, and I feel that the module is still at work. Zimo, you have to be careful. The monster on the brain will not easily destroy the satellite. Zimo clicked his head and his heart sank. The image of his parents was like a shadow. Last night's phone was still in his ears, his mother's voice tablet, saying everything is normal, but he knew it was an illusion. The data of the U-disk that is carried out in Naylan has the reverse frequency of the module, but the source of the brain must be cut off first. I won't let them stay in the sermon forever. Xiaowei, trust me. His voice was low, the electromagnetic field was slightly swaying, resonating with the urban network, making the floor lights unstable. The peak felt like the palm of the city's life, allowing him to draw from fear and become a fearless guardian. The top elevator door opened, and the cold wind squirted and the high-altitude clouds were coming. The satellite center station is like a science fiction castle, with a giant antenna tower in the center, blue light, a surrounding ring-shaped console, and a screen that sways the global brain-wave network data. The brain stands on the base of the tower, and the dark shadow is finally clear, a middle-aged man, His face is as white as a bald man, his eyes are embedded with mechanical lenses, and red light scans are like X-rays. He was wearing a silver-colored robe, with a slim circuit pattern under his robe, and his waist was the mold of the core host, a crystal ball with a fist-sized fist. The internal data were like a spiral of a galaxy. "Boy, you're here. It's destroyed Vic's treacherous support, it's good. But this is my empire. The memory core host has backed up with satellites and will be launched tomorrow. The whole human race will be reborn, forget to get confused and implant perfect order. Your friends? They will thank me." Zimo's heartbeat was like a drum. When the red light swept, he felt a stinging pain in his brain. The shadow of the old sun was falling, the powerlessness of working overtime, the panic of awakening, the betrayal of Changzhe. These were like chains, trying to pull him back to the mortal. Order? Your brainwashing empire. Xiaowei, my dad, this city are all victims. I burned your ambition. He took a step forward, resonance infusion in accumulation, and the electromagnetic field was like an invisible ripples. Naylan grabbed him and said in a low voice, "The aid troops come from the floor, no man and elite team. Hui Qian and I are holding, you will deal with this monster." Hui Qian clicked, and the force of the field was rising into a brain-to-burst shield, and the blue light flashed. "Boy, remember the resonance, lock his host with emotion. Go, let's stay." They turned around and guarded the entrance. Naylan's gun sounded, and the first wave of no man fell. Hui Qian smashed the armor door on the field, and cried out. The brain sneered, and the lenses were red and bright. He lifted the crystal ball, the main's power accelerated, and a brain wave exploded, like an invisible giant hand pressing towards Zimo. The air was twisted, Zimo felt that his will was being pulled, and the illusion came. Xiaowei turned around and opened her gun, her parents were on the mechanical point. Changzhe mocked the weak. Technology counters your extraordinary power, boy. The memory core host integrates AI, I am the god of eternal life. You're electromagnetic? Can't destroy me. The pressure came, Zimo's knees were soft, and the flame gloves were burning and it was difficult to explode. The inner shadow enlarges, am I really doing it? When the office workers arrive here, every failure as the city is over. Suspicion was like a tide, Zimo gritted his teeth and held it. Naylan's shout came from the entrance, Zmo, hold on. U-disk data has been released, Ching's stay, reverse frequency locking the host weakness. Naylan shot the message. Hui Qian tried to stop the elite guard's slam, the red arc hit the blue shield, and the four sparks were sizzling. Boy, Changzhe is not dead in vain. He uses electromagnetic resonance to his frequency, and flame catalyzes the middle chip. Zmo flashed Changzhe's words in his brain, and his gratitude eyes were like fire and bright shadows. He took a deep breath of the cold wind in the sky, Xiaowei's warmth was still in her palm, and her parents' smile appeared. This is not revenge, it is guarding for them, I am not afraid. The resonance fusion finally broke through, and the electromagnetic field no longer spread, but the frequency of the crystal ball was accurately locked. The buzzing masterpiece, the force of the brain is shaking, the red light flash, what? Your wavelength, matches my AI core? 1-to-1 peak matches explode. The brain reacted rapidly, and the crystal ball shot out of the laser net, and the red line was like a spider's thread, sealing the whole body of the penis. Technological countermeasures are like tide, the force is suppressed and the brain waves are illusion, Zimo's vision is blurred, and the flames are out of control. Kneel down, boy. Your anomaly is a trap, I am the future. The head laughed, the circuit under the robe activated, the tower antenna moved, the global data flowed like a river, try to wash the brain ink. But Zimo was not afraid of rising to heaven, and his thoughts were like steel. The electromagnetic field resonance host, reverse frequency, enters the crystal ball into the crystal ball, and destroys the AI algorithm. Sizzle. The cracks on the ball body are widened and the red light is distorted. Impossible. My defense. The brain's face turned pale and the laser network was moving. Zmo took advantage of the opportunity to explode, the flame gloves were fully opened, and the blue-white flames were guided along the electromagnetic connection, directly shaking the crystal ball. The heat energy catalyzed the wafer, the flame tongue licked into the crack, the internal data line burned and burst, and the sparks were like smoke. He quickly hit the face like a climax, the wisdom and courage of the extraordinary ability to restrain technology. Zimo laughed. Your immortality? It's so crispy when burned. The thing is falling? This is the flame of guarding. He punched it out, and the wind was like a dragon rolling on his brain. The edge of his robe was burned, the circuit was shorted, and the brain was stumbled backwards, the lens shattered, revealing bleeding red eyes. The doubt is about to be resolved. The brain is slammed and the final counter-Tahii is full power, and the brain waves are swelling like a tide. Try to implant it into Zimo's brain. Join me, forget the pain. The illusion is crazy. Zimo's brain fails in the flash, the city is in slump, Xiaowei will forever forget. But he overcomes the shadow and feels as if he is alone. No, I am the guardian. For Xiaowei, Dad, Qingzi, this city. Finally, the fusion peak was storm, the electromagnetic flames storm backwards, and the blue and white fire line flows upwards and enters the base of the antenna. The tower body shook, melting, metal twisted and dripping, global data flowed and cracked, and the snowflakes on the screen were completely shattered. Nalan and Huishi's battle climaxed at the entrance. Nalan's gun technique was accurate, and it finally fell into no one. The fragments smashed the ground like rain. The 8 army is dead. Zimo, fuck him. Hui Qian's strength rose to the ground, and the brain waves helped to reverse the module, holding the elite team's impulse, and a huge wave pushed them open, the armor shattered, and the guard retreated. The brain waves are reversed? Are we awake? There was a lot of trouble, and some guards lost the gun mouth and killed each other, and they suspected that they were scattered like a fog. The head kneeled on the ground, the crystal ball burst, and the core host turned into a fireball, and the hot waves swept. He glared and his voice stopped. You destroyed everything, but the satellite backup. Zimo stepped forward, and a stone fist ended him. The flames swallowed no black shadows, and the burned into a burnt. The tower collapsed and the red light was eternal. The city's electric network was restored, and the lights were lit from afar. The crisis is about to be lifted, and the brainwave network is disconnected, and the city's modules are beginning to reverse. People's eyes are clear and the streets are whispering, what's going on? I remember. Zimo sat, sweat was mixed, and his heart was filled with tide. From shadow to fearlessness, this growth is like a flame forever. Xiaowei rushed over and hugged him. You did it. Dad's module, solved. Nalan and Huiqian approached, and Huiqian patted her shoulders. Boy, the hero is born. Spark back up? In the last battle, we will burn together. The high-altitude wind blows away the smoke, and the awakened lights of the city reflect the red night sky. The imperial dust flying in the brain was filled with smoke, but Zimo knew that he was not as good as the road to guarding. The motorcycle engines are back again, and they go down and dawn is coming. The motorcycle engines twitched on the street before dawn. Zimo held the handle tightly, Xiaowei's head leaned against his shoulder, and his warm breath made him feel that everything was worth it. Nalan was on the way forward, Huiqian's pickup followed behind, and the car lights were like loyal partners cutting the night. The fire in the skyscraper was still flashing in the mirror. The explosion caused the glass on the surrounding high-rise buildings to shatter, and the fragments fell like rain, hitting the asphalt road and causing trouble. The city woke up, a chubby light lit up, and neon lights recovered from the darkness, but Zimo knew that this was just the beginning. The satellite backup of the head brain was still buzzing on the track, like a hidden bomb. Boy, don't relax. Nalan's voice came from the talk machine, scattering. The U-disk data shows that the backup mode has automatically switched to the satellite. Before the brain died, the self-destructive countercount was activated, but we had to suck it far away, otherwise the global brainwave network will rebel. She turned into a familiar alley and stopped at the door. The broken warehouse was hidden in the morning fog, and the air was filled with the sea breeze and the beans that were filled with the breakfast scent. They rushed into the basement and the lights lit up. Hui Qian immediately picked up the data disk and joined the satellite interferer that was built at a time a black technology that was swept from the shadow network. The screen was filled with green light, showing the track diagram. Come on, boy, your resonance fusion is the key. The electromagnetic field locks the satellite frequency, and the flame heat can catalyze the mid-width chip. Imagine it's like a big iron ball, precisely, and not burn the entire track. Xiaowei sat aside, holding Zimo's hands tightly, her eyes firmly. Dad's message came. They said, they were so excited, but remembered me. The module was turning backwards, thank you. Her words were like a warm current. Zimo pointed at her head, and her heart was in a mess. From the panic that night she woke up to the moment she was saving her, this love was like an affair, which doubled his strength. He took a deep breath of the musty smell in the basement and closed his eyes. The hand ring is buzzing, and the electromagnetic field is like an invisible hand extending to the sky, touching the movement of the satellite, the cold data flow, like the poison of the brain. It's locked. Zimo growled, feeling the energy in his body moving like a volcano. Resonance fusion peak explodes, electromagnetic waves move into the satellite core at a distance, and AI algorithms are stormed. On the screen, the red light flashes on the track, the internal circuits of the satellite are short-circuited, and the sparks explode in the virtual image. The flames are heated and the blue-white flames are like lightning far away, directly hitting the middle chip. Visual impact is like a science fiction blockbuster. The satellite shell is red and hot and distorted, the data flow is broken, and the global brain wave network collapses like a storm. The pleasure was like electric current swelling. Zimo laughed in his eyes. It's burned. The organization's stay is completely destroyed. The satellite turned into a fireball, the fragments scattered into the air, and the tail was like a meteor shower that rolled through the morning sky, and it would never cause any future troubles. Naylin relaxed her voice and smashed the table with her fist. Fuck beautifully. The slander revealed. I posted the file to the media black network, and the politicians' dirty things and corporate manipulation were all exposed. The city woke up and read the news. The public commented on the street, what's the memory? Those fake news. She opened her tablet and cut the screen to the live broadcast. The city center, the crowd gathered, the police station queuing. Someone cried, they washed my brain, but her eyes were clear. There was no turmoil, only the awakened anger. Zimo's heart felt hot, and this industry was like fire, illuminating the entire city. Hui Qian smiled and started to make coffee. The heat rose, mixed with the sweet fragrance of sugar. Boy, you have become a legend from the ape who works overtime to vomiting blood. The electromagnetic flame not only burns enemies, but also creates a new order. Naylin, you have to create a new era. Keep secrets and protect the remaining efforts, and protect these awakened sheep. Her words were grounded, like a neighbor's elder sister chatting, which was full of profound meaning. The door was knocking outside, and it was urgent to get familiar. Zimo stood up and opened the door. Xiaowei's father stood there. His mother's eyes were wavy. Her father rubbed her sunny vagina and was still confused on her face. Zimo, Xiaowei. Are you okay? Just now my brain is like a card, remembering some strange things. Is it all fake to choose news and company layoffs? Mom hugged Xiaowei and cried. Dad patted Zimo on the shoulder. Boy, I heard the news that there is a group of people who control the memory. Have you saved us? Zimo's throat was tightened, and his heart was filled with tide. From the terror of his family being powerless to the warmth of being reunited, this round of eyes moistened his eyes. Uncle, Auntie, it's nothing. I just did what I should do. He didn't mention the details, but just smiled. Dad pointed, good boy, come to your house to eat more often in the future. Did you hear that you have a job? Come to our company, don't work overtime until you die. The whole family hugged, and the air was filled with warmth, and the fragrance of beans feasted in the door, like the daily life in the city. Naylin passed the coffee and everyone sat around. Hui Qian said, let's have fun. Shadow Network's gray smoke, and the new order begins here. We don't want to be angry, we are hidden in the dark, as the shadow guardians of the city. Nalan blinked. Yes, boy, you are the boss. I'm telling Huiqian to train, the newcomers, like those awake people, we teach them to protect themselves. Is it good? From being chased to being the master of fate. Zimo looked at Xiaowei, and she smiled and leaned over and kissed his face. You have changed, Zimo. In the past, you always lowered your head and wrote a code. Now, you are my hero. Her words were as honey, and Zimo reflected in her heart as calm as water. On the day she woke up, the coldness of her wrists on her hand was now an extension of warmth. From the panic of pure self-protection to the fearlessness of being silenced, this change is not power, but the heart protecting love, family and friends, the love of this city. Peace is like morning light, washing away all shadows. He feels free and truly alive. The bitter sweetness of coffee spreads on the tip of their tongues. They talk about the future. Nalan's detective was released, Huiqian was able to train in an easy way, and Xiaowei Lazimo went on a trip. Don't be an office worker, open a small studio, and write a program to reveal the truth. Dad and Mother smiled and said, yes, the matter of Shuzi is coming slowly. The laughter crawled in the basement, the smoke dissipated, and the sun shone in from the window, illuminating the scattered data plates and empty cups. Zimo stood up and looked out the window. The city woke up, the streets were flowing as usual, the crowd chatted at the door of the coffee shop, and the neon lights rose. He held Xiaowei's hand tightly, and his heart was as calm as a lake. The legend is not the end, it is the beginning of integrating into daily life. The motorcycle stopped outside the door and waited for them to drive down the next day. The wind blows, bringing the heat of breakfast. Life is always different,